Hey, Brett, how you doing? Quick, short, open. No, hey, home theater nerds, not yet. This is a special pre-show. You're laughing at me, and I know why now. You're laughing at me. You're like, oh man, this guy gets way too excited.
There we go. No, it's only because I love you, DJ.
I know. And that's what I mean. I know this now. It's so great. Yeah, I wanted to, oh crap. I used to, my monitor's going crazy, but I can still see you at this monitor. All right. Are you still with me?
I'm still here. With you.
All right. Brett Bjorkquist, the man with a mission, market maker, right? I reached out to you that Monday after CEDIA, and at the time I wanted you to come on because I wanted to thank you personally. Things didn't work out. CEDIA takes a lot out of us. We'll just say that. But yeah, I just wanted to have a little quick chat. And I say quick because for you and I got a half hour, and then we got to do our show. And for you and I, even us having the conversation about having a conversation takes a long time, right, buddy?
That's right.
Oh, but yeah, we got some stories to tell. And like I said, let me get to the thank you. As I said to you earlier, we were talking, CEDIA didn't rejuvenate me. That doesn't work because I love home theater. I've always loved home theater. But since going to CEDIA and because of you and the access that you granted me and the way you just introduced me to all of these people that I didn't know already, that I didn't know personally yet. I'd met a bunch of them, but then all of a sudden it's just like, we're all just friends and everything. And it's like, I came home, like I said to you earlier today, it's like, it's not rejuvenation. It's like new energy, like jet fuel for home theater. And it's because of you, buddy, because of you. And yes, you are the market maker. You're amazing at and you have a ton of energy. I think that's why we get along so good. But thank you so much. Thank you. It's been awesome since I've been home. But thank you very, very much.
Oh, I appreciate that, DJ. Like I said, it's that positive energy begets more positive energy, right? I mean, that's how I look at it. I'm always happy to help. I mean, we've known each other for a few years now, and mainly started when I was at Kaleidoscape, right? And coming on, answering questions. Like you, I love this stuff. This is where my passion is. I think that's my 21st CEDIA in about 23, 24 years. Even when, lockdowns were going on and this and that, not many people were there. I was still there. We were doing booths. Yeah. I was doing trainings. And, this is one of my favorite times of year. It comes along and it's an opportunity for guys like me that are in the industry. We get to see a lot of friends that we don't get to see otherwise, right? Like this is the one time of year we all get together. Sometimes we see each other. Sometimes we're passing by booths and all we get to do is say hi.
Yeah.
But it's amazing, and then when guys like you, come out, then that's really what it's all about. Guys that haven't been here forever that get to see kind of the all the stuff that's there. It's nuts, right?
It's nuts, but it's like, I haven't been there, but I've been here forever. I've been doing this since 88, right? Yeah. And that was literally, I looked that up this summer. That was the first year of CEDIA, right? And I read about that and read about it for years in magazines, read about people going and when they come home, hearing the reports from people about what, reading back in the 90s, reading in the magazine, this year at CEDIA, we saw this. And I'm like, I'd love to be able to go there. And then for me to, one, be able to go, and two, get the access and the ability to do what I do, which is nothing, just be me, right? That's all I can do.
That's all you need, DJ.
That's all I can do. I can just be me, right? But it was like, just to be there. And then, like you said, it's like, it was interesting to learn that, like, if you're in a booth, like you guys were at the, Gramani, Storm Audio, and Stewart, yeah.
Seymour Screens. Yep.
Seymour Screens. I'm stumbling. You're in that booth, but you're not allowed to go to other booths until Saturday.
Not really.
You're not allowed to wander. I can,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, so learning stuff like that, but then going out at night with you guys and running into all the other booths, and it's like all the big booths are all hanging out together. They're all like great friends, and it's like that to me was like the fly on the wall. That's what I wanted to do for my listeners, and it's like just be that fly on the wall. And then when we went out that night, and it was what's her name, Amanda? Is that her name? And she's like, DJ! And I'm like, what the hell? Right? And I was like, that's crazy. So she's from Kaleidoscope. Just met her that afternoon. But I was like, I'm standing next to like Michael, and she's yelling DJ.
There you go. There you go.
I'm like, whoa, all right, cool. Right. So it's stuff like that. And it was literally like just, being with you, knowing you and everybody. And you're right. The circle you've surrounded yourself with, the people that you're around, they're 100% positive, great people. And that's what you like to do. And it's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. And that's my big thing with it, right? I mean, there's plenty of people, and not to say that there aren't other great podcasters and and reporters and different people that I also would consider in that group. But as we went through and I picked a couple guys that I know, guys that I like, guys that have this similar energy, let's say, like you said, that are passionate about this stuff, that aren't doing it just to do it, that aren't doing it for reviews and free product, that aren't doing all those kinds of things. I want people that just want to talk some stuff, right? And if I can give them some cool access or get everybody together. I mean, that was a pretty fun dinner, right? I mean, we we had pretty much everybody there. And that's what it's all about, right? When we can have a night where it's like, oh, okay, we got Michael Stevens from Youth Men, and we've got DJ, and we've got AV Nirvana represented, and we've got we had everybody kind of there. Those are the fun nights, and it's not just like, I look at it just like you were saying with manufacturers getting together. When we have it going, obviously Trinov had their booth doing waveforming technology, and Dave Pedigo's out there, but I've known Dave Pedigo for, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 years. So there's no, oh yeah, sure, we're a sound room 10, and let's have a little fun with this. But at the end of the day, let's go have a drink. Let's go do something else, because we're all guys that just love the industry. And I always say it's a small industry, so don't burn your bridges because you never know when you're going to need somebody. But same thing on the, on your guys' side. I always say it's not an if, it's not an either or, it's an and, right? It's not introducing you to Michael doesn't mean that if you watch DJ, you're not going to watch Michael, or you were watching DJ, but now, you watch Michael, and now you're not going to watch DJ anymore. We're making content that's just great, that people want to see because they want to see you. And so, that's really the thing is, bring some good people together. Again, I appreciate you coming out, doing everything as well and spending time so that you can get some content for your listeners. And then, like you said, I know you guys did some cool stuff. You've had some great takeovers. With Joe Klesnick, right? So Joe came in, and again, that's our kind of mutual introduction. And Joe is always great. And then I know Michael took over, and I know you got another one's going on here pretty quick. So
Can't wait for that.
Yeah. So again, some amazing stuff. So I'm glad anything I can always do to help. Even if I'm not pitching anything, like, it's just always fun to come on, talk movies, talk technology,
talk home theater. Yeah, it's like. What's funny is I remember when I first met you, it was before we recorded, and we had a conversation, and like we hit it off like that. And it's funny. It's like we were just like, we pick up the phone. And it was like, hey, I just want to go over the show. And it was from that first conversation, you couldn't get us off the phone. And I was outside a restaurant with my wife, and I'm like, just a minute. I'll be there in a minute. Just a minute. Right. Everybody that you've introduced me to, and everybody I was talking, like, that's been on this show has been just like that. That's what everybody's just passionate about this, and they want to do it in a positive light. That's the other part too, is like, you can have differences, but what's the positive light? What's the positives? Like, cause you and I aren't going to agree on everything, right?
Sure.
And it's like, I mean, you've got a Porsche. Well, I want a vet. We got arguments to have, and it's fun.
That's right. That's right. I still have both, so I can love both.
I know.
But I got to get rid of them because.
But I do not want to run out of time before we got that story to tell. And let me preface this with you and I talked. There were two people in the room at the end of this story that were disappointed. And I can't believe that I'm the one that came in second on being most disappointed. Maybe third, because I'm not including you in this. You and I talked about this back in May or something when you were on, and you had this idea on something you wanted to do. And is it okay if I tell everybody what it was? Because we're going to be doing it again eventually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're good. I don't want I don't want to burn all my bridges, but we'll.
No.
The story is good and worthwhile to tell, and it's important. So absolutely.
Yeah. So you had an idea you knew you were having this booth. I don't even know if you knew 100%, but you were doing this booth or something, right? But you're like, this is my idea, Teach. I want to get these people together. And in that group, it was Anthony, Chris, Youth Man, Giles, and me.
Yeah.
And you were like,
Todd from AV Nirvana.
And Todd, that's right. And Todd, you were like, that's it. I want to have a roundtable discussion. We're going to do some demos. We're going to have some fun. We'll put it out on YouTube. And I'm just sitting there all summer going, oh my God. It's like, I'm going to be in this room like the fly on the wall, the listener with a microphone going, yep, okay, I'm here. And what happened, Brett?
Oh, God. And it's so embarrassing on my side.
It's not. It's not.
I know, but it's one of those things where so like DJ said, the idea was 5-6 guys. You go in and you go through these sound rooms, you wait in line for sometimes up to an hour, because I always say when you're in line, you want the demos to go quick so that you can get in, and then when you're in there, you want the demos to go forever long,
right?
So that you can hear another demo, right? And so but the problem is you get 1 or 2 movie clips, you get 1 or 2 music clips, and then you're out the door. And sometimes you don't get the prime seat, right? Sometimes, right. I always feel bad.
Did you hit a wind chime?
That's right, evidently. I don't even remember having it on that before, but each app gives its own little music there. So, the idea was, when you've got 12 seats and you got 4 against the wall because everybody wants to get in there, so you have to put as many seats as you can, even though they're not always the prime seat. Although they all sounded pretty good, but if you're up against the wall, you're up against the wall. You can't defeat acoustics. And so the idea was, bring in 5 or 6 guys for a couple hours at night. We'll just kind of bring people in and and have some fun with it, and we'll play whatever movies. So here's the demos that we were showing, but DJ, pick me your favorite, top 2 scenes, and
right,
and Matt and Todd and da. And the idea is like, let's just have some fun. And if we do some recording on it, we'll talk about the systems. Doesn't even have to be about the room. Let's talk about CEDIA. What else did you see? The idea was find a place that's really cool, that's not overly loud, because, when you're trying to record stuff and everything's going on, the surrounding stuff is cool, but it doesn't make it better for making recordings and hearing what everybody's saying. Right.
Right.
So this was going to be a cool way to do that. We were going to meet up at like 6 o'clock ish. And then we ended up, before we went to Sound Room 10, we actually went over to some other friends of mine over at Prolux to go check out some of the cool lighting stuff. Right. So that was amazing as well in its own right, because there's just so much cool technology when it comes into LED lighting, programmable lighting, linear lighting, strip lighting. I mean, there's just so much stuff that, whether you're talking about the whole house, which obviously they do, or just your theater.
Yeah.
There's just some really, really
or
cool
Todd's
stuff.
shower.
Or Todd Showers. There you go.
What the
hey,
hell?
Wherever you need to put in your funky
I know.
glowing lights. And
he's like, this is going to be great in the shower. I was like, what the hell? Me and Michael are like, what the hell are you doing in the shower?
Hey,
I know. All right, whatever.
So, same as the music. You got to, Alexa, romance.
Yeah. There's nobody home, Todd. What are you doing, buddy?
But But so, you know, so we all kind of met up over there right at the end of the show, and then we started walking over to Sound Room 10. And it was gonna be a blast. I had all my
Oh,
guys. We were walking over there, and unfortunately, CEDIA security was coming through, and it's a bit of a gray area. Like, obviously, you have to shut down. CEDIA in general shuts down 5 o'clock, whatever it is, and everybody's supposed to be out. We know that. But typically, you can bring press in. We're obviously allowed to be in because if we have to fix a room, there's
right.
again a lot of reasons to be in there. And so originally it was meant to be like, hey, I'm going to grab everybody badges. Unfortunately, one person walked in a little early and kind of alerted the security side, so they were paying attention to us. No names mentioned in there.
Nope. It wasn't me.
No, it was
I
not
had
you,
my
DJ.
badge.
And
so-
it wasn't his.
it's not his fault.
it
And I don't
wasn't
think
his-
it was him either. They were already set off. And
yeah,
they have
they were.
they had a black and white line. They eliminated the gray for all intents and purposes.
Exactly. And while there's usually a gray line in there, unfortunately, I guess they had some issues where people, I guess, as they were walking out, whether it's, it's hard to believe that it's manufacturers because you spend so much time and energy building your booth. It's like cars. You don't mess with anybody else's stuff. If you respect yours, you don't touch anybody else's. And so, but somebody was screwing around and started unplugging systems and doing so security was a bit higher on alert than they've been in past shows and this and that.
Yeah.
So the head of security operations is already basically walking by, sees a group of us, about 6-7 people, and is basically like, well, you really can't stay here. And it's like, well, this is press. Press is generally allowed outside of hours. I'm an employee. I work for the company. We run the booth. There's no reason why we can't do this. Well, if you're going to do it, then we're going to post somebody here and we're going to charge $1,000 an hour just to have somebody stand outside the booth. And now I'm in a spot where I've got all these guys, which is great press, right? Realistically from a manufacturing side, but realistically it's just friends. We're having a good time. But there's going to be some cool content out of this, right? I mean, we all know that there was going to be some cool content on this. And now I'm put in this spot, but it's not I'm not the one getting charged. So if we're in there, we knew we were going to be in there for at least 2 hours or so, running through demos, having a good time. I can't, my guys that are already, my manufacturers that are already spending tens of thousands of dollars with the show, I couldn't put them on for another couple grand without calling and having their, just their authority on it. Now, if I had done it and the charge came in, they would have been fine. As I look back on it and I'm like, oh, I probably still could have done it. And, it would have been worth the money. It was the same, we got into the same issue. Back when I was doing Beats by Dre, when Kobe Bryant, so we got him a pair of custom Laker colors, right? So he had custom Laker headphones that we made for him. But when you go in a press conference, you're not allowed to have all the branding, unless it's NBA regulated stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so he was wearing the headphones. He refused to take them off. And they gave him a $10,000 fine, right? And it's like, damn, 10 grand. The reality is we paid for it.
Right.
And we were happy to pay for it because it wasn't exactly planned that way. But I'm like, yeah, 10 grand for that kind of press coverage. Why not? So, from that perspective, I guess I probably could have done it. But the reality is these are smaller brands. These are CD brands, right? This isn't big money. And so an extra 2 grand when nobody knew that it was going to happen and this and that, I didn't want to put anybody in that spot. And so I tried to get it to go.
You did.
And I discussed with them for a little bit and this and that. And unfortunately, they weren't having any of it. And I understand from a security side, there's a lot of stuff going on in there. But, as some of the others and manufacturers saying afterwards, like, the issue isn't us, right? The issue isn't going to be 6 press guys and 2 or 3 employees in there. It's anybody else running around.
That's the thing. I don't blame the security for, they were caught, you were caught in a rock and a hard place. Like you said, there's gray area. and they eliminated it and had to go black and white, because if you let our group stay, what do you say to the other group? And it's like, and they tried to give you an out, like you said, like we could charge you, that way we could tell to some ragtag group or whatever. And I get it. And you did everything you could to get us to stay. And it was disappointing, but at the end of it, we actually came out with, we're still going to have that conversation eventually.
Yeah.
But we came out of it with being, the bad boys of CEDIA. We got kicked out. We got kicked out. And I'm like, I'm walking out going, man, I wanted to have that sit down. I wanted to do this. But the other person that I mentioned that was more disappointed than me was Chris. Yes. And I was shocked.
Yes.
He was like crushed. Chris Seymour, that is.
Yep.
Great guy, but he is just as passionate. And he wanted to be in that room. He wanted to show all that stuff. And that's one of the things that I learned. I've kind of known it, but not having the access that I did. I learned that it's like dealers and this is the listener, consumer, fly on the wall with a microphone guy. The dealers, and then you have the manufacturers and you have the customer. The manufacturers are awesome. The customers are just looking for the best they can get. It's that you got to find a good dealer you can trust.
And they are there.
They are there.
Yeah, I don't want to say like,
not at all. But when you cut out that middleman, and what's funny is at CEDIA, you're surrounded by them because it's for the dealers, right?
Yeah.
But when you get to go and talk to the manufacturers, to the inventors and these people, you're just like, oh my God, you're just like me, just way smarter. You can do this. You actually made something. I just enjoy stuff. Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty amazing. And I was crushed for him. At first I was disappointed for me because that's an experience I wanted to have.
Yeah.
And then at the dinner and talking with Chris, I'm like, oh man, I feel bad for you.
he was, and I'll agree. And this is where, again, this is why you and I get along. This is why, this is how I pick people to work with is, I've always said I've worked for some great brands and Kaleidoscape and Bowers and Wilkins and Logitech. And, I love what I do. And I think that, generally comes across. And the idea when I started my spot with Market Maker was helping some of those manufacturers that couldn't afford big full-time marketing teams and everything else, that I could help them out, and that's the Chris Seymours, that's the Anthony Grimanis, that's, even in big companies that we think of like Storm Audio, Trinov, they're expensive. Expensive doesn't mean that they're making a ton of money.
No.
And that's something that I think comes across, obviously Kaleidoscape, that gets discussed all the time, right? Oh, they're so expensive. Well, expensive. Yes. I'm not going to debate that, but that's because there's a lot of cost around the structure of that business, especially when you're only selling to a niche market, a very passionate niche market. But you're not selling 1 million units a year, and I think that's the piece when you start looking at, screen technology. It's like, yeah, sure, you can put spandex, you can paint your wall, you can do whatever else. And if that's what you have, like, bless you, go for it. That's the idea is to enjoy the movies, right? The TV shows, the music, the concerts, the whatever it is that you're into, on whatever you got. If you're watching it on your laptop, that's great too, or a 65 or an 85-inch TV.
Well, like I say to people, it's like, get what you don't know what you don't know, right? Yeah. So get whatever you want. And then when you see a flaw, like if you're on your laptop and you're like, this isn't like the movies. Yeah, because it's a laptop. Get bigger. Okay. But if you paint your wall and you never see an issue, I wouldn't recommend doing anything because you don't see an issue.
Speakers, put it into something else, right?
Right.
That you do see an issue with.
Exactly. But if all of a sudden you start shopping around, you're like, I love my system, but then you go someplace and you're like, how does that look so much better? Yep. Well, if you do this, that'll pump this up. Oh, now you see a flaw. Now you have a want, right?
Yes.
If you don't see anything, you don't have a need. So don't worry about it. And that's where you get into the higher end stuff. It takes time to get there. Don't start there because you don't even know what you're getting. And it's like Chris, obviously he's got stuff, the higher end stuff that he's trying to push. I look at him, he's trying to push Stewart, right? Unfortunately, Seymour and Stewart have a very close name, but that's why I have my flub earlier.
Yeah.
But he's trying to push what is the industry standard. And now it's like, oh, wow, look at this. and it's awesome. You need competition. You need this stuff, right?
And that's exactly right. You need competition, and you need somebody, what I always say, to the same points, you need somebody that builds that aspirational product, right? I mean, it's no different than anything else, whether we're talking cars, home theater. I need somebody to keep upping the game on the audio side, because we know that technology works its way down. It's the same way when you look at Marantz with Denon. It's the same way that, you have all these different brands that come
I
in
think
there.
a SVS and Velodyne.
Sure.
You couldn't get a subwoofer before or it seems like that's that point, right? SVS came out and they're like, we can do this for less and we're going to give you a quality product. And you're like, holy crap, I wanted to save to get a Velodyne. And now I'm like, they're still in business,
and they're back
but
now.
You have that. Yeah.
But like you said, Velodyne was always great, but it was expensive. And then somebody else comes in, and, brands like Seymour are great because not only are they making, like, anybody can go in, DJ, we can sit there tomorrow and go, you know what, let's buy some screen material. I can go, it's not hard. You can go, I can find a factory in China that makes them, and I can make a screen, and we're going to make a competitive screen that's going to do this. And it might be okay, but you know what? I don't know enough about that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to buy whatever's off the shelf. I'm going to do this and that. And it's another just so brand, right? That we're hoping capitalizes on something. You get Chris Seymour in there, and this guy lives and breathes this stuff. He's been focused and especially focused on masking. And he's been able to do things with masking to bring the cost of masking down so that it's not just on the $40, $60, $80, $100,000 screens that most can't afford. He's got ways to be able to snap it on. He's got ways. I mean, there's so much cool stuff in there, and you can tell that the guy is passionate about it.
He's an innovator.
Yeah. I got the same conversation with them where, he was upset and heartbroken that we didn't all get to go in there. When I asked him, I'm like, hey, all I need is for you to show me for 5 minutes, because he was running the demos during the days. Just show me how your demos work, right? Again, pretty smart guy. I've done all this stuff. Just show me the Crestron pad, but I just need to know how you have things set up, right? HDMI 1, how do you have it? And he goes, well, who's coming in? And so I told him everybody. He goes, I'll stay for that. Let's do it. I love that when guys are like, they probably could have been out having drinks with somebody else or going to do other things, and he's just like, no, I'll stay. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that you want to work with. And what I always say is, for me, those are the brands. Anthony Grimani, same thing, right? I mean, the guy's been teaching stuff forever. The guy is a legend. He makes amazing speakers. Most of the people don't even know that he makes speakers. And yet when you listen to them, you're like, wow. Now, they're designed to go behind a wall. So they're, the basic black box. But, I'll put them up against any other brand that sits in there. So, those are the things. Same thing with Storm Network Audio. We had a blast in there. That networked audio is absolutely the way things are going in the future. And then, bass management was huge at the show. Whatever version that you were listening to, double bass arrays and waveforming and, quad bass. And, there's just so many different options out there. But what's important is that people are figuring out how to put bass in their room properly, not just to make it louder, but to make it so that it's more consistent seat to seat.
Yeah.
And
that's what was amazing
that people really need to do. And I think that's something that dealers and integrators, to your point before, we got to find those good dealers in the middle, and we need to educate them so that they are basically as passionate and as knowledgeable as those manufacturers are.
Yeah.
Because right now, a lot of times there's a gap in there. The manufacturers are there and the clients are there. And sometimes you feel like, as a consumer, I know more. I know more than the dealer when I walk in. And that should never be the case.
Yeah.
It really does. And it's not fair. And so that's kind of what I do in my stuff, is trying to work with those manufacturers that are passionate, that want that engagement, that want to reach out either the way that I usually do anyways, directly to consumers through guys like you. I'm also training dealers on the messages in there. And, like I said, I love what I do, and walked out of CEDIA, very energized as well. I think it's going to be great and ready to go. So yeah.
Oh, thank you. I mean, just, we're going to talk more. Believe me, Brett. We're going to talk more, a lot more. But I got a show to get to, and
I
here's
know.
Steve. Thought I'd introduce you, Steve George over in England,
What's going on, Steve?
and
Yeah,
my buddy
good.
John in the
How's
bottom
it going,
corner.
John? Oh,
Hello?
love the Star Wars stuff back there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So,
Nope.
Brett, again, I can't thank you enough. It was awesome, and like we were talking before the show this afternoon and everything. It's like so much more stuff to come.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll
Nope,
talk.
we
We'll talk
got
again
plenty of
soon.
stuff in there, and DJ, anytime you need anybody on, feel free to let me know, and I'm always happy to join the crew and have a chat with you guys.
All right. Thanks,
Cool.
Brett.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Later.
Cheers, Brett.
All right,
Bye-bye.
we're gonna get to our show right now. We're gonna have our open. We're gonna have everything. Let's get to it because we got a huge show, buddies. I'm just out of my mind right now.
You was
so let's
talking
get-
to me, Steve.
I
just
figured that.
I
I didn't take it personally.
Oh my God, what a day! What a day! Let's go.
We are Brightside Home Theater.
Hey, home theater nerds, welcome to the Brightside Home Theater Podcast. The Home Theater Podcast, it's all about the experiences, the sights.
The sounds.
The knowing where I'm not wanted. Sorry, the scenes.
Oh my God, poor I thought you could bring yourself in.
No. Oh, well, I wasn't sure. It said enter stage, but I didn't know quite what that meant. So I didn't know if that meant I just push it. I didn't want to just jump in. You guys were talking about security.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
getting into trouble, and I thought that if a lawyer then appeared, you'd think that I was going to bill you for the hour.
That would have been great. Yeah. No, that's why I said you guys I thought I didn't know how long you'd been there. I looked down, I saw you, and then I saw John come in, and I was going to bring you both in, and then John got up and left. I was like, oh God. I'm like, okay. So
Well,
and
you were talking, so.
No, I know. But I had told Brett beforehand, I go, we got a hard out at 5:00 because this show is so jammed. I'm already like dropping stuff, and we got so much stuff to get to. How was your week? Good. All right. To boot, I get home and the pool guys are here, and they're like, where's the pool cover? I was like, oh my God, I forgot to get that out. So I had to dig that out of the attic. But yeah, so everybody's good. So what are we going to talk about first? Let's see. We might as well just get right to this first and foremost, because it's pretty much why I think everybody's here. Chris Brown pulled the pin at Chris B Design on Twitter. So he pulled the pin with the comment, I guess part of my point to get philosophical is calibrated actually correct though. Someone could calibrate my system and it looks like garbage, which has happened with a professional before. Then is that really the correct way to view it, or is the way I like it right? Wow. So that set off like an entire conversation on Twitter about calibrate to not calibrate. Chris does his own. Do you like, what's the best way to go about it? And I put out a video today saying, I think everybody, any home theater fan, true home theater fan, should have a professional calibration done at least once in their lifetime. Not in the lifetime of the device, but the lifetime of them, so that they know. I'm going to elaborate on that in a little bit. But what do you guys think?
John?
I mean, I've never had one, so I have no real strong opinion one way or the other.
You had your phone consultation, didn't you, with your base response.
Well, that for my audio, yes, I have
Yeah.
I had my audio system calibrated. I mean, I'm not. I definitely think it is something that I'm going to do. I just haven't ever done it, and I've never really had a theater set up where I felt like I needed it. And then I was waiting with this projector until all of the update, until all of the features were available before spending the money on a calibration that might get changed after features were implemented. So now that my Dolby Vision and all that stuff is active, I'm going to look into getting a calibration done. But having never done it, I don't have a strong I don't really have a strong feeling for it one way or the other. I will see how it turns out after it's done, just like anybody else would do, I guess, and see whether I enjoyed it or not. But I do know that a lot of people, once calibrations are done, are not happy with the display because accuracy doesn't necessarily equal preference or what looks good for you.
Wait, what? Objective could be subjective? What?
Yeah. Now,
I wonder where I got that idea from.
I will also state that bad calibrators exist, and a bad calibration can give the wrong impression of what is correct and what isn't correct.
Correct.
So you also need to make sure that whoever's doing this for you, is fairly competent in what they're doing. But again, you as the consumer don't really know. Like,
exactly.
If you get a bad calibration, you don't really know that you get a bad calibration. You're just going to say, oh, well, this looks like crap, and I'm going to go back to my own presets and never do this again, when a great calibrator could have given you a different result. This is my opinion. I haven't read any of the thread or been involved in that conversation at all. But
right. You and I have had that conversation. It's so different. And that's what's so hard about the internet is that if you're looking for information, it means you don't know it.
Right.
Now, once you get it, you don't know if that's good or bad.
Right.
So, and it doesn't mean the internet's crap, but it is literally roulette. It's like you don't, and because it all sounds good. People can give you scientific information on why this is correct, and you not knowing go, that sounds right. And then, okay, but no, that's not how it works at all.
I mean, I've fallen down a couple of those rabbit holes myself. So
I know, we all have.
You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know it, and it's part of learning. So, Steve, as somebody who is the resident non-DIY guy, I think I know where you're going, but I love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, well, I have done my own calibrations for a long time. I had the Digital Video Essentials discs, back in the DVD days, and I did setups with that. But I was aware of these.
Oh, wait, those?
Oh, yeah,
right.
There you go. And that, as if by magic. There we go. I remember it well. But I then also remember this talk of these fabled Imaging Science Foundation calibrators, like the old knights and of the Round Table. And I thought, right, I would seek them out. And I've had two ISF calibrations done. One by a chap in my old cinema room in the old house, who came and did that. And we've spoken about it before, but basically he came in Sunday afternoon it was, and he closed himself into the cinema room and said, I'll see you in a few hours. Shut the door, and then about 4 hours later emerged blinking into the sunlight, and said, right, those are your 3D glasses. I've marked them, so those are yours. I've calibrated it, and off he went. And it did look better. There's no question. For me, it looked better than how it had been done before. But then I had a second calibration done when I had Cinema George done the current one. And that was done by a guy who I'd researched it, I'd looked it up. This was a guy who was a world, perhaps not world leading necessarily, but a world renowned calibrator. I can say his name because he won't mind. He doesn't do them anymore. It's Vincent Tio. And he came in from Manchester. It was an 8-hour round trip for him. And he came down and did that. And he was amazing. And he basically dragged me into the cinema room and was like, sit there, let's talk.
Yeah.
And as he was doing it, he was going through, he was a really great guy and is a really great guy. And we were going through it all. And then once it was done, he's like, right, let's watch some movies. Let's watch some stuff. Look at this and look at that and look at how, and I mean, it was incredible. And then even more cool, he then reviewed my TV for his YouTube channel. And, you know, did all that too, which is on about 60,000 views at the moment. So, you know, he was very, very cool. So I think the calibration is definitely worth it if you get the right calibrator. You know, you should do your research, do your homework on it. And if you are able to afford it, and it's not cheap, at least not for a decent calibrator, because they should be spending a lot of time doing all this stuff. So if you can afford it and you do your homework, it is well worth doing. And my screen, which was a very, very expensive screen, looked night and day different from before and after. And, you know, it's fantastic. So I highly recommend it. But as I say, do your homework. I agree. There will be people out there that work for, you know, large electrical stores who, you know, have probably done 2 hours worth of training. Probably not done much more than look at the digital video essentials and then say, right, it's $400 to come and do your calibration, but they're not ISF certified. They don't really know what they're doing. And then I can quite understand how it might look worse, or they might not be able to talk you through why they've done what they've done.
It's better.
Exactly that. Whereas, you know, you get the right person, someone who's recommended, that knows what they're doing, and, you know, you will love the results. So yeah, I get it both sides, but for me, I would always have a professional calibrator now. And Vincent has said to me that he'll calibrate it anywhere in the world, even though he doesn't do them normally now. So that's very nice of him. So it's, yeah, it should be done if you can afford it. And if you think you'll get, you know, something out of it. Again, I think it depends on the screen size. It depends on kind of where it is.
Yeah.
I mean, don't bother with your 32-inch TV. I'm not sure there's much point on that. You know, but if it's a larger screen, your bigger screens, then I would say get it done if you can afford it. But screens are getting better. Cinema mode, filmmaker mode, and that is making
getting you closer.
Yeah, quite. But still, your professional calibration is worth doing if you're a home theater nut like we are, and you know, it's well worth doing. But you know, it's up to you, really.
Yeah, no, it obviously, yeah. And one of the things that, like I was saying to Brett earlier, is that if you don't see a flaw, then don't worry about it, right? But at the same time, a lot of people and this is where this question came up. It was like, am I missing something? And that's what ends up happening. And I think if you've never had a professional calibration, then I think, yeah, you are missing something. Is because what you're missing in a quality professional calibration. And like what Steve did, I did the same thing. That's how I met Jim Doolittle, who, when I met him, I was literally using, before him, I was using for my 32-inch television, I was using my Video Essentials Laserdisc. Eventually, I got the HD Basics, the Blu-ray version, but I had the DVD version. So you utilize that, and you get your picture as close as you can possibly get it. And back when I met Jim, it was in early 2002, and he calibrated my 65-inch rear projection television. Now, those televisions, it was night and day. Today's displays, it's not really night and day anymore because they are so good. They're so good at maintaining themselves, at keeping the picture right. It's a lot of it's digital, whereas back then it's like you had adjustments, like you had 3 tubes shooting at the screen, and if they were off, but they had that to calibrate, then they had the color to match. There's a lot of things to go on there. But for like most of us, we can get pretty close with a Video Essentials or a Spears and Munsell, which I have them all there. But you also have to know what you're looking for, right? You have to know when you're doing that stuff, and how do you know that stuff? Like a lot of people are confused by the Spears and Munsell disc when that came out because they don't know what any of it is. So you have to know a calibrator. You have to talk to somebody. You have to learn what this stuff means. And that's the important part. To me, is if you've never had a calibration, you don't know what you don't know. And there was some conversation today, and Todd said something, and I love Todd like a brother, for God's sakes. I mean, and he said something today, and it kind of like went right through me. He goes, and it's one of those internet things. He goes, if you get the flesh tones right, you're going to be happy. Okay. Well, where are you getting your flesh tones from? What movie? What scene? How did they shoot it? And that's why the calibration is important. If you just put on Star Wars and go, oh, Princess Leia's face looks perfect. Well, you don't know what Lucas was shooting there, what he was going for. He might have been going for a powdery white face. We're going to talk about a movie in a little while where you're like, that's not flesh tones. And it's, it's, so you know what I mean? It's like, you can't pick an image and say, oh, God forbid you said, I want it to match the green grass in the NFL. Well, they're blowing out their image for television. They're giving you vibrant mode. So that's not going to work. That's why you get a calibration. So you know that knowledge, and then you know now you have the knowledge and you know where to go. Then you can tune to taste, right? And it goes back to what Mr. McPhee taught John and I many, many years ago. Guys, no, stop screwing up. You need to learn how to do it right before you can screw it up. Like, well, look, Picasso, look at what he did. Like, yeah, well, we're going to teach you how to do it right so that when you know you're doing it wrong for a reason, right? And if you calibrate and get everything right, find a calibrator that you trust. And it's hard to do. Don't get me wrong. But then when you get that, now you know, like what Chris Brown is saying is like, well, I just get it to where I like it. That's fine. But if you're asking the question, I have a feeling you're thinking you might be missing something. And that's why you ask it. And it's like, I would say at least once in your life, find somebody, track somebody down, invest the money, because it may not change your picture a lot, but at least you'll have the knowledge of that's what it's supposed to look like. Not based on flesh tones, not based on any piece of content. It's based on, it's just based on here. And I actually grabbed some images here. It's based on stuff like this. All right, here's, how many people know what that is? I mean, we all do, right? But do we know what it all means? Do you know what all that grayscale means? Obviously now with HDR, there's a lot more levels to that. How many people know that you can't see it here on YouTube, but there's supposed to be a gray bar right here. This line right here, what does this mean? Okay, that's if you blow that up, I didn't take a picture of the whole thing, but then there's this one here. I blew this one way out so that you could see that there's supposed to be line. You're not even supposed to barely be able to see this line, right? So you do that stuff. There it is in the room. You can't see anything. That's in in its natural state. That's another HD version of a grayscale. And yet you can see here, go back. You can see here, my whites are blown out in the picture, but in real life, they're there. You can see each step. This is that blown out one that I was showing you. So that's what it looks like on the wall. But when you go to this right here, that one right there, if you're off on that, you'll see, like, you can almost kind of see it here. I might need a calibration. My green is leaking out on one side. But when they're way off, it can be, you could see blue on one side or red on one side and green on another. But you need to get those all together, because the way light works is you put blue, green, and red all together. That's how you get white light. It's all the colors together. And if you're slightly off on one side, that's going to be the green leaking out on one side. You get a calibration. I should have Jim in. It's been a year and a half. He'll bring that in. He'll tighten that back up. It just gives you a crisper, better picture. This is a decent projector. They're all going to do this. It's not a sign of the projector. So it's little things like that if you care about those little details, and I do, then it's worth it to me, right? And it's things like that. And then the other part of that conversation was, this seems way more complicated. And Chris was saying, like, well, sound is easier. Oh no. We have definitive stuff here with picture. All you have is the display. You have somebody come in and they bring your lines in right. They get your grayscale. Boom, it's done. That's it. You turn the lights out. That's your calibration. End of story. Audio wise, what's the frequency response of the speaker? What's the amplification like? What's the processor like? All of that's, and there's way more tune to taste What kind of speakers do you have? What kind of speakers did the director intend you to be listening through? These are warm speakers. These are this. There's way, way more stuff to calibrating sound than there is to picture. It's way easier to calibrate a picture to get it right. And then he mentioned OLED versus projectors versus LCD and versus this. I'm like, no. That's all the ability of the different displays. That has nothing to do with calibration. That has nothing to do with what the director intended, because what that is like, that's just how you're going to try and get what the director intended presented to you, right? And like, you could do it on your laptop, but your colors and everything, if you had your laptop calibrate, they're all correct. That's what we're going for. So there is a definitive objective correct that a display can do. Now, as we stated earlier, you might not like that, but you need to get there so that you know, because I've done a lot of people's systems and they don't like it's too dim. They love vibrant mode, right? And then so that's the issues that a lot of people have. But if you've never done it, you don't know where you're standing, right? That's how I feel.
One of my neighbors, in fact, just over the way there, has got an OLED. And he's got it on torch mode, and you can literally see it from about 300 meters down the road. Yeah, you can see it. I'm pretty sure that it's just a matter of time before planes try and land on his house. His lights are so bright, it's just it's bound to just attract them, or really big moths.
People are losing sleep. Their sleep modes are off.
It's just crazy. I mean, yes. So get it calibrated if you can. I think we're saying, aren't we? But the flesh tone issues, Deej, I happen to know someone, and you know this person as well, who calibrated Steven Spielberg's theater on his $500 million yacht. It was bought for him for his birthday. Must be nice. And he's got a screen.
But did they get him a card?
Yeah, let's hope so.
Because I could buy my wife a yacht, and she'd be like, "I got no card."
Yeah. So he when he has his screen calibrated, the first thing he looks at is the Venice sequence from The Last Crusade, where you've got the spinning propellers of the ship smashing up the boat. Right. And the flesh tones on that is what Spielberg looks at to know whether he's happy with the calibration or not.
Correct. And now that's a different story. That's a different story. Yeah. He knows the content, and he knows when it's what it's supposed to look like, right? It's the same as like when Jim comes in, I'm sure when Vincent did yours, he'll pull up a piece of content after getting it calibrated, and he'll go, "Oh my God, that's exactly what those apples are supposed to look like." And you're like, that's why those are there? Just like on the Spears and Munsell, like all those horses in a field. I don't know what that means. Those guys do. And when you talk to them, they tell you this is what to look for in these scenes. It only works on that scene. You can't take any scene of horses and go, "Oh, look, the snow looks right." It's like, and that's why Spielberg goes to that scene. That's why I go to Star Wars every time I redo something. I know that opening so well. Same with Nelson. Nelson does the same thing. He gets a new piece. He does something. He got it so, I mean, we talked about it on the podcast. He called Kaleidoscape and said, "Your Star Wars copy is wrong." Kaleidoscape called the studio corrected it, gave it back to Kaleidoscape. Nobody else would know that other than Nelson, who's watched this movie so many times in this opening scene and been like, "It's not supposed to bloom like that." That's because he knows what calibration is, right? That's what, if you don't want to do, if you don't see a flaw, don't worry about it. But if you want to have that kind of knowledge and you want to have fun with it, that's what you got to do.
Just to say hi, by the way, to lots of new people in the chat. Yeah. Just to say hi to everyone that's tuning in for the first time. A few new names, just so we can say who they are. David Breyer, thinks new. So hi, David. Hello to everybody. Obviously,
we got it. Eddie Troches, who has a great comment. Yeah. Who has a great comment here, and it gets to exactly what I was saying. He said, what Todd meant is that skin tones should look natural to you. It's understood that we don't know what they should look like. The point is that if the display is not calibrated, skin tones will help. yes and no. And like I said, we'll talk about a movie later on. And that's why, Eddie, that's what I was saying is like, I love Todd like a brother, but when you put stuff like that out in short form on the internet, people will read that and go, okay, I'll just match it up to some good skin tones. And that's what's hard about communicating on Twitter or social media, where you're like, what do you think of this? And that's why I wanted to bring it to the show and hash it out and really get comments like yours, Eddie, right? And be able to say like, yes, I know that's what he meant. Just like what you said, Steve, about Steven Spielberg. If you have a piece you like and you understand what that scene's supposed to look like, but that doesn't work for everybody. So that's why the calibration is important. So, yeah. Thanks, Steve, for doing that. That's you're the man behind the scenes, because I got so many things going on here.
You're okay. It's just always nice to say hi to new peeps.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's all good. So welcome everyone. Jump right in. The water's warm, as we often say.
That's John's fault.
Yeah. Yeah, only that little
At
bit.
least around the 2-hour mark, it'll be his fault.
Yeah.
It's warm like 3 feet around me.
Yeah, we have fun here. We have lots of fun. Let's see. Let's talk to what a big day today. Let's say hi to our patrons. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody over there. I am going live with them at a Zoom call at 8:00 tonight, so that's going to be fun. Can't wait for that. Join me over there. And this was pretty funny. I got this today. Patreon sent me this. Happy Patreon anniversary, whatever. You've been creating on Patreon for a full year. That's a big deal. And I'm like, oh, thank you very much. But it's been like over 2.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's been longer than a year.
I think it might be 3. I don't know. I don't know. But I was like, all right, well, maybe they just saw my low Patreon number of 30. They were like, that's got to be good for a year, right? We'll tell them congratulations. I'm like, no, I've been at this a long time. I just don't talk about it. And I was talking with, I was talking with Giles today, which I'll talk about in a second because we got other news. I was talking with Giles today. He goes, I got to look into that. And he goes, I said, yeah, it's a tough one. I said, I'm not really good at asking for money. So I don't really get the full benefit of it. But I am starting to learn, and we'll have more on that later when I have another show, when I have a show that I can't, that I can actually elaborate on, because we got way more to get to. Let me just touch on this really quickly. Zapiti out of business. Going out of business. Huge news. I was going to grab an image for that. But Giles and I are going to be live tomorrow night, 8:00. And we are going to hash all of that out. He put out a great video. I think it came out this morning. And he gives you all the options. This is Giles McCoy. Go to his YouTube channel and you'll see. But he put out like a 30-minute video, and it breaks down everything from Plex to Kaleidoscape, Zedu, Zune, all the things in the middle, all the ideas. And so I saw that and I was like, oh, we got to do a show. So we're going to stream it in both places. I don't care where you watch it, but we're going to break it all down, where we think the future is going. And I think it's huge. Honestly, I think this is huge for home theater in a positive way. And I was joking with them. I go, hey, I'm not kidding. I am bright side, because I try to see the positive in everything. But this truly is, and we'll talk about it tomorrow night, it is a huge thing for home theater and us as consumers. I think this is going to, someday, we're going to look back at this and go, I remember that day, because look at what's happened since then. And we're going to talk about all that tomorrow night. So that deserves a serious long-form conversation. So we have that. And guys, I got a little surprise for you here. I haven't even told you guys this one yet, but my laptop's acting up here. I got to get the image up. Where did it go?
Did we win the lottery, DJ? Did you not tell us?
No, unfortunately, no.
Worth a try.
No, but it's always something stupid like this. So let me see if you notice what's different here. And where is it? There it is. All right, here we go. Do you see anything different here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't even see.
Oh,
the image.
VPN.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
indeed.
am.
Well, some of us have had it for ages, Deej. I didn't like to show off.
I know. Oh, so you do have one.
Well, we've had Prey on Disney Plus.
Oh
since
no,
it came
I
out
thought you
in-
if
in
you had
Atlas.
a VPN.
Oh no,
I'm sorry.
no. We
Oh.
already had that on our normal one. We didn't need a VPN.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly. So, John, you have yours. What do you have, by the way?
IP Vanish.
Okay, so I grabbed this ExpressVPN. It's all they're all in one.
Now, is that an app on Apple TV? I didn't think they were available on Apple TV.
Nope. This is
I have them
literally
as well.
a router. This is actually ExpressVPN. It's there. Let me see if it's on here.
Yeah, I have that service also.
Nope, that's my work. There's Giles. Let me, see, I got to find the, let me pull that down there. Yeah, like I said, the pool people screwed me up big time. Let me
I didn't
find
know they
the
did
image.
VPNs.
No, ExpressVPN, they make their own.
They make a
And
router. Yeah.
yeah, they make a router so you don't have to install it into your router, which actually helps a lot. So basically what I did is I went and I took, here it is. I'll show you. Air Cove, that's what it's called. So links are in the show notes. This was $189, but it's I added a second Wi-Fi router to the house, but this has the VPN in it. Okay. So I called my man, Joe. There he is in the chat, Joe Hotzel, the IT guy, busting my balls right from go. He goes, call me, because I had this plan to do. And to be fair, it was eventually the same plan that I wanted, but I want to run it by him, right? So I'm like, all right, let's do this. So we hashed it out, and he was like, maybe you're going to screw some stuff up. And that was kind of how I felt. But we're like, let's do it. What we ended up doing is, and this is his idea, and he goes, this would be really cool. What if you had 2 Apple TVs? And I was like, I got like 3 unused sitting. I got a travel one. I got another one. I'm like, let me grab it. Boom. We did it. Within like a half hour, we had it up and running. I had to tweak some things. He had to jump on another call, and then he came back. But we had, him and I were cracking up. We had a blast doing this. Adding the VPN, I ended up doing, going and looking at, let's see, now maybe I can get these in order here. So I did look at Prey. These are my scenes for the week here. So I did look at Prey, and it does sound better. There is an improvement there. But I think for me, so go to like the 3-minute mark when she's throwing the tomahawk. So in that scene there, let me see if I got it. There you go. So in that scene there, it's very evident. You can hear the echoes a lot better. It sounds just as good on Hulu. It does sound good. Don't get me wrong. It's not like a dramatic difference, but it is more enveloping. I think it's Hulu. But then I also looked up, I wanted to find other content without telling you guys because I wanted to surprise you. And I found Boston Strangler also over there in Dolby Atmos. So I'm like, Jen and I are going to watch that one together. But then I went back and I watched it. So this scene here, it's No One Will Save You. And this scene here, I watched most of the movie over again. It's a lot better. It's not, I mean, when I saw it the first time, I said it was horrible. It's not as dramatically horrible as I thought. It's still a little low, even on Atmos, but it is way more enveloping and heightened. Again, I think this is Hulu. Whatever they're doing and the way and Joe can explain it better than I can. Yeah, Joe in the chat. Here we go, buddy. Well, I'm getting to it. I'm getting to Project 26.
Order 66.
Order 66. So this is Project 26. This one's probably going to stick for a while. We'll be saying this. So what ends up happening, I think it's Hulu. And like I said, Joe can really explain like what goes on behind the scenes, what they allow through, stuff like that. And they're just not allowing it through because I don't think it's a case, because I've watched other movies in 5.1. Like I said, the Continental sounds fantastic. It actually sounds better than this does in Atmos. Talking about, I'm pointing at the screen, but if you're audio only, I'm talking about No One Can Save You. But Project 2.6 is basically what Joe's saying there is, because I'm running the Lumagen, I run everything through the Lumagen, and then the Lumagen takes it, smooths everything out, all your different inputs, puts it out to the projector, so you have one setting on your projector. I don't have to, Apple TV's doing this, standard definition's doing this. The Lumagen does everything, right? So that smooths all transitions out. On the Lumagen, I have my input 1 is Kaleidoscape, input 2 is Apple TV, input 3 is my Panasonic, and so forth all the way down. 6 was the last open one. That's where I put Apple TV UK. So I was 2, 6, 2, 6. And I got an earpiece in talking to Joe, and I'm like, oh my God, listen, this is different. And he's like, I can't hear it. And we're going back and forth, but he's like 2, 6, 2, 6. And sometimes trying to compare the picture, I was like, oh, wow, what a difference. Oh, no, I thought I was on the other one. Oops. Okay. So those ones were dead on, but I can switch this. It's probably 3 seconds of a black screen, and then the next image comes up. And if I hit play at the exact same time on my 2 Apple TV remotes, I can just do it while the movie's playing and just go back and forth. And it's a great A/B trick to have people in and go, which do you think is better? And it's like, I did it back when I did Maverick. I did it when Jurassic Park Dominion, all that stuff. Jurassic World, sorry. You can do all of that a lot faster and get a really good A/B comparison. But at the end of the day, like I've always said, if you walked in the room and got up and had to go to another room, probably be a lot harder to tell the difference. And all this is all little microcosm stuff. But this is different. I do really love the VPN. I love getting my Apple TV UK. I even got a special red wire. I didn't get a picture of it for you guys, but special red wire so that I know that's the Ethernet from the UK.
Should have been a red, white, and blue one. Deej, come on.
I looked. They don't make it.
Paint it, damn it.
Oh.
What do you do for a living?
Well, yeah, actually, I did buy a label maker for my wires. That's a whole other project for a whole other show. I got so much stuff, but yeah, so that was pretty cool. How long have you had a VPN, John?
On the Apple TV or in general?
In general.
I mean, I've had one in general for years, but it's not router. I don't have it on my router. I just have it on my phones, my laptop, my phones, all that stuff.
We went that route at first. Yeah.
And so, but it never worked on Apple TV because they didn't allow native apps for VPNs until the latest update. And so I switched to IPVanish because ExpressVPN didn't have an app. They're not on Apple TV yet. And so, so now that's who I'm using for everything.
Is somebody vibrating, or is that
my
me?
phone's ringing?
Oh, okay. I'm checking my stuff. That's okay, as long as I know it's somebody
John,
else.
Is that the FBI, John? Now they figured out you're on a VPN. I'm just
Yeah.
So in any case, I'll let the ExpressVPN subscription run out, and I'll just continue with IPVanish because it does all the same things the other one did. Plus, it allows my Apple TV.
So I did the ExpressVPN. I researched after talking to you last week. I researched the ExpressVPN, and I was like, okay. I'm like, this is great. I just bought it right away, right when we finished the show, and it had come in the next day. And then it's sitting here, and I had rain on Friday that I wasn't expecting. So I was like, all right, let's go to town. So 9 a.m, I texted Joe, and Joe was like, okay, let's go. Right. And he, like I said, he goes, give me a call. And I was like, all right. So I call him, and he answers the phone like this. He goes, Brightside Home Theater IT line, please press 1. And I was like, I started laughing, and I'm like, that's good. Nothing. He just sat there like I had to press 1. I was like, you're going to lose at this, pal, because I was on my laptop. He's on speakerphone. I go, you're going to lose, so you can keep going. And he's like, and he lasted like 3 or 4 minutes without saying, which is a long time of dead air. And I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, did I call Joe? But I'm like, I'm not saying nothing, right? So I'm just working on my laptop. And then all of a sudden he goes, just press 1. I was like, you lose! I started yelling at him. But yeah. 2 hours later, because we had done other options. He wasn't sure if the Wi-Fi router in the house would screw up the other Wi-Fi. So we tried doing it on my laptop. We connected the laptop to the home theater, and I was like, I had Prey playing through my laptop on the home theater. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not getting, he goes, well, yeah, you're not going to get Atmos or anything, but you got the movie there. I go, I can get the movie, Joe. I'm trying to get the Atmos. Oh, all right. Open the box. Let's go. So we worked it out, and now it's awesome. And now I have on the front of my rack, which that was my Saturday project. I had to rebuild my rack because I had to mount dual Apple TVs.
Did you do what Joe says in the chat there? He did tell you to make the Siri voice UK on that
Yes,
Apple TV,
he
so
did.
an English accent?
Yes, he did. He did tell me that. And I'm like, I don't use Siri a lot, especially maybe once Jen and I are alone in the house, but it's weird with multiple people and you're like, hey, do this. And I'm like, no, I like buttons. So
I can't say I've ever used Siri on my Apple TV ever.
I can't
Bought my
either.
Apple
I've
TVs,
never done
I've got
it.
7 of them.
I use it when I'm driving. I'll use Siri. I'll be like, hey, S lady, whatever you want to say, right? I'll say that. And then be like, for a message to give myself later. So I don't have to pick my
Yeah,
phone
but not on
That's
Apple
about it.
TV. Yeah,
No.
I can't say I've ever done it for that.
No, I don't think Siri will work in our theaters because it's too loud to begin with. You'd be like, hey, Siri, put on Maverick. Like, it's already playing loud because you're watching Star Wars and no, it doesn't work.
Yeah, have a shouting back. What?
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. I still have movies to get to. You guys have movies to get to. That was it for me. I want to give you guys some time to talk. So let's
Good news. Everything is good this week. I'm not moaning about anything this week.
Oh, well, I've got these in order, so I was going to try to just go in order, and I apologize because unfortunately mine's the first one up.
That's fine.
It's like I'm tired of talking.
I can talk about this one too.
I know you can. I'll just talk about really quick, but let's kick off the month of October with probably one of the greatest modern horror movies, if you want to call a horror thriller. The Silence of the Lambs, 4K, DTS Master Audio 5.1 on Kaleidoscape. This came out a while ago, like last year, right? On disc, Steve, and on Kaleidoscape and everything. I bought it last year. My wife and I didn't. This is literally my wife's favorite movie. This is her absolute favorite movie. She loved it when we saw it in the theaters. She just loves anything to do with the antagonist in this movie, anything to do with people like that need help, that should find help and do this stuff. She wants to help these people. So even at a young age, and what were we, 21 when this came out in 91, she's like, that guy resonated with her. It's like, that's not who's supposed to resonate with you. So, but yes, she loves this movie. All I can say is, let me give you, if you don't own this, absolutely run out and get it. It's reference picture, reference sound, if you will, for the time. But the picture alone and watching this on a big screen, my wife was blown away again because how good it's looked. Did I bring it in here? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I have it on Laserdisc. So we've been watching this at home forever. But we hadn't seen this new 4K transfer yet. And she was like, I never realized how many shots are close-ups in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I know, it's amazing. I mean, the close-ups of Jodie Foster, the close-ups of Anthony Hopkins, the close-ups of how creepy is, what's the doctor that's keeping Anthony, what's his name?
Dr. Chilton.
Yes, how creepy he is, and the close-ups on him, and Scott Glenn, and how, like, what he looks like, the close-ups on their faces when they have the white under their noses, and I mean, I was looking at that for the continuity. Like, how many times did they shoot this? Is it the same white as it was before? And it was. It seemed it. Absolutely. It's just gorgeous. Just gorgeous looking. Yeah. It's. Oh wait, it's not out over there yet.
Yeah. So Jordan says in the chat, Silence of the Lambs still has yet to release on physical 4K in the UK. Classic horror masterpiece. Yeah, I imported it from the US. I could not wait. And everything you just said, DJ, is what I said when I reviewed it on the show a few months back. It is absolutely incredible, the work they've done on the restoration of this. And those close-ups bore into you on the big screen, and with that added resolution, every little, you can see the various little blood vessels in the eyes. It's awesome.
That Jodie Foster has like a burst blood vessel in one of her eyes, and my wife was like, "Oh my, look at that! I've never seen that before." It's like right to the side of her eye. Yeah.
You can also, and never has the James Gunn's kind of the when it goes into the night vision mode, never has that looked more threatening and more concerning than in this. You're just like, oh my god, I want to get out of here as quickly as possible. And of course you've got the moths flying around, and that's all nicely moving in the room. But it just feels so claustrophobic. It's incredible. Really good presentation. And I mean, you say, DJ, if you don't own it, go buy it. I'd say even if you do own this, unless you own it in 4K,
get a second copy.
That. I mean, I had the Blu-ray and I got the 4K disc, and the Blu-ray is long gone. There's no way I'd watch that again after this. Once you've seen this in 4K on a calibrated screen, then you'll be very, very glad that you did, and there's no going back. It's fantastic, and well worth importing for those over in the UK that don't want to wait, because God knows when it's going to come out here. Import it, get it, and then prepare for awesomeness, as I like to say.
It's and to get to touch on the color for a second, she typically is wearing green throughout the movie, right? Tweed, green, jacket, tweed. But when she's running away, it's when that gross scene happens. Something gets thrown out of the cell at her, which is disgusting. But if you look at her nylons are green as well. Okay. It's like, I mean, and that green just really pops. And I said to my wife, I go, it's very interesting that they put her in green, right? She's new. She's a recruit. She's green, right? She's new. So they put her in that. And then at the end, after she catches him, sorry, spoilers, she's in the black for, now she's the FBI guy. Right? Or FBI person, sorry. And she's in all black and stuff. But throughout the movie, she's wearing green because she's just not even a rookie yet. She's just a trainee. So I thought that it really jumped out. And then, of course, you have the clothes. And the other thing Jen and I were laughing at is the style of the times of everything being baggy. Like, even Scott Glenn, when he goes into that funeral home and he's wearing the overcoat, and it's just like the shoulders on it are way out to here, and it's just boom, 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 boom. And my kids look at some of my t-shirts that I had from the 90s that I wore, like, Dad, how big were you? Because like somebody like me, I'm 6 feet tall, 175 pounds, and I would wear an extra large t-shirt because that was the style, that frumpy look, right? Nowadays you look like that and you're like, you just look like you crawled out of a laundry bin. Like, what are you doing? And but seeing that style and stuff, and that's how good this resolution and how good the restoration, I should say, is. So question, is there a bad Jodie Foster movie? Here we go. Yes. Denzel Washington Road we're going down here.
Yeah. There is a movie in which she is very odd, which is in Elysium, where where the whole thing looks like it's been dubbed again. It's very strange. In her entire dialogue throughout the movie isn't quite in sync with her lips, and it's a very strange performance. I don't know what happened there, but no, she's generally been in some great movies. There's no doubt about that. Paul also said in the chat he's got the Kino Lorber 4K disc on the way. That's the one I've got, Paul. So prepare for awesomeness. It is really, really good. So yeah, it's very cool. Great film. Have you got that, John? Is that one that's on your list, or is that not one for you?
I don't have it. I've seen it many times. I don't have the 4K though. I was just checking to see if I had it while we were talking because I thought I did, but
Yeah.
I guess I don't. So
It's Black
it's now
Friday
in my
rolls
shopping
around.
cart.
Yeah, you will love
So-
it. And on your screen in particular as well,
Yeah.
bearing in mind the sheer size of that, Lecter is just boring into your skull.
Right.
He's so good. Yeah, it's an awesome disc.
Lecter.
Lecter.
Dr.
Yeah,
Lecter.
he said,
Dr. Lecter. Dr. Lecter. We all know that. Thanks, Joe. All right. Next up, here we go.
Oh,
John?
okay. This is me.
This is you.
I get to talk. All right. So this is a movie called Kate, which was on Netflix, Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. This starred Mary Elizabeth Winstead. This movie, I guess and Woody Harrelson, who was great in this movie. This movie came out in 2021, and somehow I missed it. I guess I never saw it. It was mentioned on Facebook or Twitter last week, so I gave it a watch. Have either of you seen this movie?
never heard of it.
This was
Never heard of it.
Yeah, never heard of it.
This was really good. The presentation was excellent. Again, it's a Netflix original. I don't think it exists on physical media anywhere. But which is I think it needs to come to physical media because as good as this was on Netflix, I think on disc this thing would be great. It had some really nice Atmos effects, and yeah, it's a really good film. Basically, I mean, if you're watching this, you can see the synopsis here, but basically she's a hit person who is given a fatal dose of poison and has 24 hours to live and decides to spend it tracking down and getting revenge on the people that poisoned her, rather than enjoying your last 24 hours.
I heard of this. I've heard of this, and in 2021, I think I remember hearing, and so
it
looks awesome.
I had never seen her in a role like this. I haven't seen her in too many things. Obviously, she's in the current season of Ahsoka, and my wife had no idea who she was. But she was excellent in this, like really badass. This is one of those John Wick type, just kill them all and take names at the door kind of things. And yeah, I really liked it. So if you haven't seen it, and I'm sure a lot of people haven't because, like I said, it was a Netflix original. Seek it out and watch it. I thought it was really good. So
nice,
yeah,
nice. So
it's a little bit, you got to get over. I don't know.
So do you think it could get a physical release, or
is
it a
thing.
Netflix
I don't know.
original?
It's a Netflix original, so I don't know. Netflix is the studio, as far as I'm aware. So I don't think it's going to. They've done it with other things. Like there is Stranger Things, couple of seasons on Blu-ray. Like there is some Netflix stuff that comes to physical, but but I've never seen any of their big movies get like a big 4K release or anything. But it just would be a good disc though. Like I said, you got to get over the absurdity of the plot a little bit, just like with most movies of this type, and kind of go with it, what's happening. But it was very well done. Great action sequences. Like I said, car chases, bullets flying, all that stuff that makes Atmos sing when it's done well. And like I said, it was good. So.
Great. I'll add that one to my list. It's
it's
rapidly growing.
It is on Netflix in the UK as well. So I just checked that. Sometimes they're not, but yeah. This one
where
is,
to watch it? Maybe I'll go on vacation and watch it in the UK.
You could get a reverse VPN and hook up to USA Netflix, Steve, on your Apple TV.
Well,
and you could watch this.
Or I could just get Deej to sit at the back of the theater room with his iPhone, just FaceTime it.
Right.
Be all right. That's a low tech VPN.
You can watch it on my iPad.
It's
Deej,
funny.
stop talking.
Yeah, it's funny. My son was like, Ahsoka drops tonight at 9:00, and I told him, and we've been watching it at 9:00, and I was like, we can't do it this week. I'm going to be on the Zoom call with the patrons, and he goes, do a watch along. I was like, that's not the point. I'm like, and it's not the point for either conversation, right? It's hard to have a conversation, and I want to experience it with the lights out and the sound up, and I can't be like, shut up, everybody on Zoom. I've got headphones on and I'm watching. It doesn't work. So yeah. So it's I mean, we messed around with that idea, remember, John, the watch along.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. Because isn't it Disney Plus that allows that? I think it's Disney Plus.
Yeah, Disney Plus allowed us.
Watch parties. Yeah, we've actually never tried it either. We talked about it. But
yeah, it didn't go well. It was so yeah, we had that. But yeah, great. This is add this to list. Let me see what's up next. All right. I was going to talk about this one too, but we don't have that kind of time. But you can.
I'll talk about it super quick. It is The Flash.
Yeah.
So,
home theater 4K. Experience of the year.
Yeah, well, apparently. So someone said, but I can't imagine who was that.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Not a bright guy. I'll tell you that right now.
So super quick, The Flash in 4K UHD disc, which I watched a couple of weeks ago. We ran out of time last week, so didn't get to talk about it. Yeah, I mean, super quick. Film's really good. I actually enjoyed it more second time round, having only seen it on a screener before, but I did enjoy it more this time round. Ezra Miller was less irritating this time, and the stuff that kind of dragged a little bit last time went by a bit more quickly now that I kind of know where it was going. So film's all right. If you like the film, good on you. The disc is very, 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 very good. Picture-wise,
so you at least
fantastic.
See what I meant and I was so excited that day. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no. I'm not. I was just thought it was funny because the next week you denied that you said it. That's what was funny. I don't disagree with your assessment of it.
No. Yeah.
So no, it's very, very good indeed. And of course, I'm not sure the film ever quite gets back to the sheer visual fun of the opening sequence. I think it suffers a little bit in comparison to that, because that opening sequence is demo audio and video.
It is
from start to finish. And the first time that really hit me was when he first uses the flash power. So the screen does a sort of push focus, and the screen goes back as he goes forward. And on a big screen in a perfectly lit room, I felt genuinely like I was being pulled into the screen, which is exactly what it's meant to do. And that was just great. And then, the audio, the bass on that was the hospitals collapsing, all the stuff moving around. And then of course you get the bat, whatever you call it, the bat plane, whatever it is, goes over the top of the screen. The bike comes down and off it goes. I mean, it's awesome. And there is nothing to be criticized about in terms of that opening sequence. And then it goes a little quiet for a bit, and then you get the ending, which is it's okay, but I don't think it ever quite recovers from how good that opening is. So it's great, really good disc. Highly recommend it. Put it on big screen, sound up, and just go with it. And it's a lot of fun. And the big screen is literally the big screen. The entire movie, 185 to 1, I believe. And you're just and it's the visuals are stunning. And like you said, that opening scene was shot in IMAX, but then you do see, with a proper calibration, you do see the drop off, even though the screen is still the same size, but you can see the quality drop off when they go to a non-IMAX shot scene, right? You see the difference, and it's very slight, but you can see that. And then when you go to an IMAX scene, you're like, here we go again. And I have a feeling that's what we're going to go through with Oppenheimer as well, because that, although that has variable aspect ratios, but it also has different shots within sizes as well. So, I mean, that one's going to be a lot of fun for us home theater nerds. But so very, very impressed with this. I absolutely recommend this disc all day long. And when it, I know, John, you weren't a fan of the movie, which I get, but I think, again, when this comes down to a super
I thought you liked it, John,
price,
no?
I mean, it was okay.
Not as much as I did.
I didn't love it. He really bothers me. They really bother me. But
just stick to the name.
Ezra Miller bothers me. but I will
Again,
get disc
Jen loves troubled people.
for well, I'll get the disc
Hello?
for one just to complete the
DCU.
the DCU because I have all the others. And I know that it'll be a great disc. And
Yeah.
I am looking forward to watching it. But yeah, I'm not paying $30 for it because I didn't like the movie that much. I'll wait till it's $16 or so, and then
but
I'll pick it up.
it'll be well worth picking up
Yeah.
when it does. I mean, again, just for that opening sequence, you turn it off after that if you really want to.
Right.
But that opening bit is just so good, and I do like they are playing with it. I do like the title comes in and then stops because he gets distracted, and then it comes in again and it goes again. I think that's such a clever little and a funny little thing to do. Really, really fun. And then, as I say, the screen pushes in. You see the kind of, I don't know what you call it, the speed that he then does, because there's names for everything, isn't there, in this?
Speed Force.
Speed Force. Yeah.
Well, quite. So when you first see that you get the
John and I
focus.
like Speed Force. What? You don't know that?
Yeah, I don't know. You're my DC gurus. I don't bloody know.
Come on.
And the screen goes in, and it genuinely feels like someone's pulling you forward into the
Yeah.
screen. Oh, it's great.
So good.
And some fantastic home cinema of that, for sure.
And David Breyer, we mentioned him earlier, didn't we?
He's new,
new
yeah.
to the room, new to the chat. So thanks, David. But he had a great comment. Shocked how good The Flash was after all the awful comments. Loved it. And that's what we've said that how many times on this show? It's like I used to love reading reviews of movies and stuff, and for home theater purposes, right? Sound quality, picture quality and stuff. And back in the 90s, when you read it in Home Theater Magazine, they all came out months after the movie. So you'd already seen it. You just wanted to see what they thought of it. Internet speeds up, and now you can go on Blu-ray.com and you can see before you get to hear about it. Like Ralph Potts does great reviews. One of the things I love about Ralph Potts is he does such a good review because he still makes you want to see it, but he tells you where it falls in line with everything, right? A lot of times I won't read people's reviews ahead of time. I think Ralph's the only one I read now. Mike, I read Mike from AV Nirvana too. They both do a great job because I don't like when somebody, and it happened on Blu-ray.com years ago. I want to say it was a Spider-Man movie, but I read the review, then I watched the movie and I was like, I thought that sounded really good, but I see what they're saying there. But it's like, wait to read the review. And then I know that's what we do here. We talk that stuff, but a lot of, when you read the negative stuff, that's why we don't talk negative about something that's brand new or something, because it might just be our experience. I didn't have a good experience with certain movies, and I just don't like the movie. Right. So there's some stuff there that can sway you away from a great experience. And I don't want to really do that. But yeah, and then the bad press that it was getting, I think that kind of ruined for a lot of people too. So
Paul just says in the chat, the enthusiasm is encouraging me to watch The Flash after all, which I will do. Paul, see it. Whether you buy the 4K disc or not, I mean, I would say buy it, but whether you do or not, it's a hell of an experience for home theater, and I know you're working on yours at the moment. So yeah, give it a go. I think you'll be very pleased. I mean, if you like the other, I mean, if nothing else, it looks and sounds great. As with all the DCU movies of late from Warner's, they look and sound great, even if you don't like the movie. So it's well worth it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right, let's pop through these next two really, really quick. I just wanted to touch on this. Continental episode 2 coming in at, what is it, 1:15, I think, John? Did you see it yet?
Episode 2 was about an hour 15.
Okay.
I did watch it. Yeah.
I haven't seen the whole thing yet. Joe and I are watching this together. But picture quality, sound quality is right back up. I mean, it's great on and it's on Peacock over here. Steve, have you jumped in on it yet?
I haven't. No, we're watching Gen V at the moment, which we can talk about in a bit, which is Amazon, and then many other things. So no, not yet. I will do though.
You don't have
based
to,
on your
don't have to
recommendation.
explain yourself. Yeah.
Well,
John and I had a great conversation afterwards last week, and we talked spoilers and stuff. So based on that conversation, John, do you think that Steve should see it, or do you encourage him a little bit more? Because you weren't crazy about it.
I wasn't crazy about it, and yeah, you had some insight that is absolutely correct. I just just did not pick up on it at all. Because like even after the fact, I went and talked to Lydia, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you didn't get that?" And I was like, "No, no, I didn't." But yeah,
great.
yeah. So there's some story points here that, like I said, went right over my head somehow. But they do make it a little bit more enjoyable for me, knowing that. And yeah, after episode 2, of course, I'm all in because there's only one more anyways.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite as bad as I originally thought it was. I came around a little bit more after the second episode and after our conversation. I was a little bit more invested. And yeah,
Well,
if you like John Wick, like it's
right,
and we all do, it's going to be what 3.5, 4 hours tops of investment for the whole thing.
Yeah,
so,
it's like 2 more movies.
Yeah,
but like it was funny when you made that comment last week. I was like, I don't think he picked up on this, right? And you were like, there's not really a story here and stuff. And I was like, and what I said last week to you was like, the entire 4 movies is based off a dog being killed, and that's it. There's really not much else. This has all the story. Yeah. And it's like, you're like, oh my God. It is. It's a lot of fun and a great home theater experience too. A lot of nuances. Really hoping, Steve, we'll get this physical, right? Paramount, do they do their stuff physical?
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, you'd like to think. So, is it Paramount? Is it? It's not.
It's Peacock.
Not,
sorry,
it's
Peacock. Yeah,
Peacock.
It's
yeah. I mean, Lionsgate did do the. They do the John Wick movies, don't they? Yeah. So they're not known for doing their TV stuff. So we're assuming that they are involved. And
we're in a new day and age, though.
Yeah. Who knows?
Hopefully.
Who knows? But I will get to it. I'm going to give it a watch. But yeah, I'll get around to it sooner or later. Just around John Wick 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of John Wick, I dove in. Went back. I know I'm only talking. I grabbed the image, but when you go from watching the stream, which I said looks fantastic, it's it's in your CinemaScope, and I put my masking up, and Peacock. They're doing a fantastic job with the stream. It is only 5.1, but somehow they have a wider bandwidth than Hulu, so it looks and sounds fantastic. Until you put on John Wick on the classic, and you're like, oh my God, look how crisp that is. Oh my God, look at this. And I remember I was texting John that night. It was after the show, later at night. And I was like, this character is this character and this character. And go back to John Wick. It's just, it's a great home theater. All 4 movies are great home theater experiences anyways, but go back to John Wick and you'll, wow. What a difference. It's like it just looks so good. It's that Mustang, which is in the show, and it's been out there. Everybody knows it's in the trailers. It is the same Mustang, but now you see it and you're like, oh my God. It's like it looks so good. You can see the metal flake in it. You're like, oh man, it looks so good. So that was a quick touch on John Wick there. So
Nice.
And quickly, we'll just skim past this. Everybody's still happy with Ahsoka? Steve, I want to give you your opportunity to blush and gush.
Still good.
Still good.
Yeah, a bit of a different episode last one.
Yeah.
Getting everyone in place and ready for the finale, which is tonight, tomorrow for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, really good. Yeah, really enjoying it. It's great. It is my favorite of the Star Wars shows on Disney Plus. For me, because it's the most consistent. So yeah, really enjoyed it.
John, can you do me a favor? Did you notice it's
just the whole season.
It's a new image.
It doesn't say episode 4 anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't say
episode 4. It's the same picture.
Yeah,
I was looking to see what episode it did say, and I'm like, I don't see anything there.
I couldn't get it to bring up the episode number. It just says visit the shop tab to learn more. I'm like, damn it. I'm like, I don't want to shop for stuff. I'm trying to improve the podcast with my buddy John.
I know, so I don't have to criticize you.
Oh, let me pull that down. Guess what we're doing next, everybody?
John Wick 2.
Sneak peek.
No, sneak peek. I meant to drop down because I need all these little things here. But this next one, a lot of people looking forward to this, so we cannot shove this off to next week. Get it? Shove this off. You see what I did there? You see what I
Yeah,
see what I did there?
it would be subpar to torpedo this review.
Oh my God! Yeah, I do not want to
just have those
submarine
deep
your.
cute-
We'd be in deep ship.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
don't want
we
to
have those
submarine
queued up,
your
we're just waiting to
enthusiasm.
go, right?
Yeah.
I did.
Exactly. Steve and I rehearsed this on
I was gonna
Sunday
say
night.
because that was definitely queued up.
Yeah, no, it's literally off the cuff. That's how good we are, right, John?
Yeah.
Smooth.
U571, the new 4K release. I had some homework given to me. Steve is so excited. This is seriously, I mean, we still have 50 minutes to go, but this is really why I was rushing, because this could be 45 of that 50 minutes.
It really could. It genuinely could. Okay.
I know.
So this is the new Studio Canal 4K UHD disc of U571. 23-year-old U571. It seems incredible that it's that old, but there it is. Okay, so it came out here last week, I think it was, and I sat down and watched it this week with some trepidation, because the original Blu-ray, I say original, it was out in HD DVD, it was out on Blu-ray, it was when Universal were doing both, and that disc by many, and we know because we got blocked for daring to suggest, Deej, did we not, that there might be a new version of this?
I finally got to 1,000 followers. Luckily I earned 1,002 because all I said was embrace progress. Blocked. Somebody was so angry at me because I said,
I got blocked as well.
oh, did you too?
Yeah.
What the hell?
This was a guy on Twitter who was so incensed at the idea that there might be a new version of U571 that might have new audio that that he blocked us both.
Well, what he said was, he goes, it's new audio. It is up. And he said, do not touch the audio. And I replied, all I said was, oh, geez. I'm like, don't be afraid of progress. Embrace it with a smiley face, right? Because where would we be today if that was the mentality? We'd still be at VHS. Or, and be like, yay, look at this. Don't touch it. I think it's fantastic. It's like, no, and don't get me wrong, you can fail. But take the chance.
Well, this is it. So as I say, I bought the 4K disc with some trepidation because the Blu-ray is the video's okay, but the audio is something that we all, hold up as a demo disc. And you did a deep dive on it again. Sorry, I'm just nicking. Whose was it there? Sorry, someone said Joe. Yeah, sorry, Joe. That was in my head. Sorry, I'm stealing that, but I'm going to give you the appropriate credit for it. So it's not really plagiarism. But you did a fairly in-depth review. There we go. It's still going.
Yeah. I was charged
of the scenes. Yes, charged. Yeah. So you broke it down as well. So we all know the audio of the Blu-ray is really good. So when I bought this, it hadn't been reviewed. I hadn't seen any reviews anywhere, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know. I knew it was going to be a 4K remaster, but I didn't know whether the audio would have been touched. And if you'd asked me, I would have said probably not. So then when you put the disc in, oh, sorry, forgive me, guys, I'm trying to throw it all of a sudden. When you put the disc in and you hit play, what comes up is that screen that you just put up a minute ago, Deej, which is a disc, and that's why I took a picture of it. So this comes up from Studio Canal, and those that are listening rather than watching it, or those that are watching on a smaller screen, it says that this is a 4K restoration produced in 2023. It's a 4K 16-bit scan done from the original camera negative, and it says that this was a picture and sound restoration. Restoration spelt wrong, but never mind. And then completed. It's restorations like a restaurant. I don't know what they've done there. So it's a new audio and video remaster. So suddenly my curiosity was very much piqued by that. So I hit play, which you're always encouraging us to do, Deej.
Yeah,
so
push
I did
play,
that.
but okay.
Push play.
Well, push play, hit play. God, yeah, it's semantics.
Go push play.
What you said.
Yeah.
So I did that. Sorry, I had to. Suddenly throat's gone really dry. video. Let's start with that. Because I don't need to talk about the film. Anybody has seen this film. If you haven't seen it, it's great. Let's deal with the video. Initially, because it begins with the crippling of the German U-boat, and it's all done in reds. And initially, when it first starts, I was thinking, okay, it does look a bit better, but not dramatically so. But that is a very deliberate look, it seems to me, because shortly after that, it then cuts to the party sequence, and then it goes from there. And suddenly, it looks really nice compared to the older Blu-ray. So excuse me, guys. Sorry. It's the older Blu-ray, and I did do some A/B comparisons on this, which I don't normally do, but I did on this because I thought I had to. The older Blu-ray is quite fuzzy. It looks quite sort of soft at times. There is edge enhancement on it, and it was very typical of Universal picture quality at the time. Doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that it's not up to today's standards. And also this film was shot in deliberately challenging environments, quite dark, quite dimly lit, lots of smoke and stuff all going around. So that has been cleaned up quite a bit. The HDR now brings out the detail in the backgrounds on some of the really dimly lit interiors. The beads of sweat on the actors are now distinct and clear. The flesh tones look more realistic in most of it. Let's go back to flesh tones again. And it's got more texture. It's more gritty. The grain is still there. Anyone that thinks they've scrubbed it, no, it is very much still there, but it looks great. And it's as good as this film, I think, reasonably could look. Because again, it is a challenging movie, and it was deliberately shot in a down and dirty way. So image-wise, it's good. Oh, very nice. Graphic Kingdom, very, very good. I like that one. I wonder how this would look on a periscope screen. So that's great. So it looks...
We'll be here all night if we keep running with this.
Yeah, we will. So it's well, we are on YouTube. I mean, you know,
oh boy,
the tubes. Anyway, so so it looks as good as can reasonably been expected. It's not night and day over the older Blu-ray, but it is better, and it's dramatically better in terms of certain things. Now, the audio. So, and this I think is the area that I was most worried about.
Yeah.
Now, let me see if I can put this appropriately.
Because you don't want to go backwards. Nervous. Yeah, I get why you're nervous. Yeah, that I get why that person said what they said.
Yeah.
But you just don't say don't touch, like never touch, right? That's all I was commenting on. I'm making a joke about it. But go ahead. Yeah. It's like it is nerve-wracking.
Well, quite. And I had not until about an hour ago now, just before we came on, I read a review which I had not read prior to watching and seeing this disc. So the audio compared to the old disc, and generally, bear in mind this is a DTS HD 5.1 MA mix, so they haven't given this an object-based mix. This is not Atmos, it's not DTSX. I watched it upmixed to Neural X. This is fantastic. It is constantly enveloping. I've seen this film so many times, and I caught dialogue that I've never heard before, audio in the surrounds and in the room that I've never noticed before, little subtle textures of the audio that I've never noticed before, and it goes on and on and on from the opening party sequence to the very end. It is constantly engaging. There's the shipyard scene towards the beginning where they're working on the sub and they're getting the U5 the sub all ready. You can hear conversations going on off in the back of the room. You can hear people shouting and talking to one another. You can hear welding going on all around the room. There are echoes going on. It is absolutely fantastic. And then when they get into the sub, when the sub puts to sea and they're on the surface, you can hear, I swear to you, you can hear the water running along the hull. And it goes along the right-hand side of the room when they're on the right and the left-hand side of the room when they're on the left. and you can hear the water moving as they're cutting through the water. It pans from the front to the back. It is awesome. And then when you get around to the 1 hour 15 mark, where you then get the proper depth charge sequences, first off, they detonate them near the surface, and you get 2 or 3 explosions on the surface, and there's a metallic whine in the explosions that I had not. It is in fact in it when I A-B'd it. It's there, but it's nowhere near as pronounced. So when you now get it on this, there is this kind of noise as it explodes, which is just awesome. And then you then get obviously they go deeper, they drop the depth charges, and you then get panning and metal straining and contracting, and it goes, I swear to you now, front right, up and over to rear right, across the rear of the screen, pans back over to front left and back, and it's all moving while it goes. I mean, I was sat in my seat like this because it just feels like this thing is going to go at any moment.
He's holding his breath.
Yeah. It is absolutely stunning.
All right.
This mix is fantastic. So I A-B'd it because I thought, you know what, I will. Because, again, I was worried about it. So put it back on. I put on the old disc, and sure enough, it's good, but it ain't this. It is, again, I played on that bit with the shallow depth charge. You can hear the metallic whine if you listen for it, but it's nowhere near as pronounced. I put the shipyard scene on, and you can hear it if you listen very carefully, but it's nowhere near as pronounced. It's not as clear. It's not as in the room as the older disc is. Excuse me. It's night and day for me. This audio has been dramatically improved, and the review that I read just before coming on says the same. So thank God for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you hate that when you go like, I absolutely love this, and then like everybody comes out later and goes, it's horrible.
Like, well, that was my worry because
what was I watching?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. But it is fantastic, guys. I mean, it's a Studio Canal release, and they don't tend to release in the US. And I know a number of people are importing it. Do it. I think you'll be very, very pleased. I really hope you will. Yours is on its way, isn't it, Deej? You've got yours incoming, or has it arrived?
I do. I ordered it, weeks, like a week or so ago, weeks ago, I think. I don't know when, but yeah. And those things, you never know. It's like, by the time they show up, you're like, what did I order? Like, oh, well. But let me ask you this. I want to do some, a little bit of grilling because I as well, I watched a good portion of it at the beginning, and it is amazing. I meant to go back and listen to my podcast about it and see what I said. But a lot of the stuff, I can't say I said all of that, but I feel like I did, because I feel like all those scenes you were talking about, I did experience that, and I did go through that. So let me play devil's advocate, because I have experienced this. I've watched other people experience it. Is it possible? Now, I'm not saying that it's not heightened.
Yeah, no.
Right?
Yep.
But what I'm saying is like, is it heightened by like dramatically heightened to you? Because that is how strong an improved picture can be, right? Like all of a sudden, like you improve the picture, it could be the same audio, and you're still going to feel like, I've done that with other movies where it is the exact same audio and be like, I've never heard that before. And then all of a sudden it's the same audio. How can it be? It can go the other way too. Like I've done it where you improve the audio. Like I've told this story many times. When I got the Denon receiver from my Onkyo back then, I brought my wife down and she thought I got a new projector, and it was the same projector, and it wasn't 4K back then. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like your senses can be, your senses can be altered by everything else that's going on as well. So, defend that.
Not in this case.
Okay.
Not honestly, Deej, not in this. I'm trying to kind of think of a sensible way of explaining it. It is like, I don't know. It's like somebody removing a hood from your head.
They cleaned it up. It's like you take the noise floor out, which is probably what they did, right? So they go in and they almost like back in the old days, the Dolby noise reduction stuff, where you take that of the tape out, and now all of a sudden the cymbals sound cleaner. Well, they were still there. You're just taking that noise floor out. So that could be as simple as that. I'm sure they did more, but if you can heighten the frequencies and reduce that noise floor, you're gonna have a better experience.
Yeah, I don't, you know, DJ, I don't know what they've done other than it's awesome now.
Yeah,
it's awesomer because it was great before. I'm not detracting from one to raise another. You know, that's not how it is. This is a significantly better mix. And I think people are going to be really pleased with it. And I know you will, because you'll have it at reference level, but you're now going to hear it's like a new, well, it is a new mix, but it's like a new modern mix that you would expect. If someone said, right, we've just got a sub movie coming out, and we shot it last year, and here it is. This is the kind of audio you'd expect to hear. It is that good. I was so pleased with this. I mean, good old Jordan giving me a little bit of encouragement as well, because Jordan obviously is over in the UK as well. He's got the disc too. So he says it was a fantastic experience on the 4K disc, especially with the sound. Absolutely worth the purchase. So yeah, I mean, see what you think of it, Deej, but I think you're going to be very, very happy with this. And when you first turn it on, I think you'll be like, is it that different? But from the party onwards, and especially from the shipyard onwards, I think you're going to be like, wow.
Well, I mean, the shipyard now sounds really good. You know,
exactly.
I mean, it was a demo worthy disc before. And now, I mean, even the picture before I thought was really good. When I watched it before, it's like there was some depth there. It's like, I think I might have said in my review that this could be enhanced with 4K HDR, but I didn't think it was absolutely necessary. But judging by what you're saying, they just went above and beyond. So that's great.
I mean, someone has spent a fair bit of time on this. You know, this isn't just upscale it and just chuck on the same audio mix. You know, we know it's a remaster of both because it says it on that title card. But it's really, really good. I think you're going to be very pleasantly surprised when you hear it. The video, I think you'll be like, yeah, looks good, looks better. I can see the difference, but it's the audio that I think you're going to just be like, wowzers, you know, that is amazing. As I say, I do love the restoration.
Yeah. And it says right here, picture and sound restoration were then completed by, well, you can't blame them. They're Italian. They just misspelled it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Don't upset John. Don't say anything bad about Italians. You'll be round there.
No, I could see it's not their native language. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's all Italians do that. I'm saying anytime you're outside your native language, I'm going to allow it.
You're going to wake up with a submarine's head in your bed.
It's my native language. Jeez.
Don't upset them. You know, I mean, it'll be a whole different thing about sleeping with the fishes.
Go through my show notes. I can't get anything right. Jeez, I think I still I have offers in the show notes still for Diet Cokes for people, and people have hit me up for it now that we're getting a little bit larger. It's like, whoops. I'm like, what is this email about?
But yeah, so overall, this is great, and I was nervous about reviewing this one, but I'm confident now with Jordan's review, the review I read. It's not just me; it really is good. And so yeah, anyone that can get it. I think you'll be very pleased.
All right. Let's get on to the next one. Our first, which today's been such a busy day. We didn't even get to talk about Carl Ellsworth being on today. I didn't even put out a tweet about it. Oh my God. You listened to it again too?
Yeah, I did.
So let's get to this one. Carl Ellsworth that I watched after talking with him. Red Eye. So this came out in what, 2004? Is that right?
Let me check.
Is it something like that? So 4K UHD, DTS Master Audio 5.1, upmixed to Neural X, and this really, I watched this a couple of weeks ago, but it is I was very surprised at how much I really enjoyed this movie. It's like people have been telling me, DJ, you're gonna like this, you're gonna like this, you're gonna like this, and I'm like, but was it Cillian Murphy? He's awesome. awesome in this. And I'm so young. It was so long. What year was it? Did you
2005. You were
close?
close.
5. Okay, that was
Yeah.
close. The opening scene, score all around you. Really nice full room bass, letting you know like this is going to be a fun movie. Thunder. There's a lot of thunder in this movie. Thunder and lightning. 230 thunder overhead. I had to put that in there because that's what he's like, he loves to do that. So I'm like, I wanted to go through and note all the time. I'm like, oh, we'll be there all night. 14 minutes. The lines of resolution. This one was really good. This was in the airport. It was, I'm almost positive this was it was a stretch screen, but it was like a widescreen television in the airport, and they put in those lines of resolution to show lines of resolution. Problem is those TVs don't have lines of resolution. Like you look at our TVs today, they're not 4K even back then, but that was I'm pretty sure that was an HD TV because it was hanging on the wall. I don't think that was a large CRT TV hanging on the wall in the airport. Maybe it was, but I do love that in the movies when you see older televisions, the lines of resolution, and they put that in. Sometimes you'll even see how it flickers back and forth and stuff. But getting to see those lines of resolution in the movies, I just feel like the special effects department, or when they're shooting this, they're like, let's show everybody where we came from, and that's why I always make note of that. 21 minutes, rough takeoff. I called it. It's about a plane. People get it, spoilers, but I think you'll understand. Nice bass, but, listen to the, detailed racket going on all around you. Like what is it? Like turbulence or something they're going through when they first take off, and it's just listen to like the higher pitch noises. 'Cause yes, the bass is great. We all love that stuff, but you can hear like the overheads are going, everything, because I'm up mixing this, but everything was the whole room was enveloped. It sounded like my room was, in a plane, and we're like, it sounded really, you're looking around. Should have brought my dog down. He would have enjoyed it. But yeah, Red Eye, 2005. Did you get a chance to watch this one since we talked to him?
Not since, but I'd only seen it just before. It was watching this
right. movie,
as we talked about in the podcast on the Takeover Tuesday. It was watching this movie that and then reviewing it that Carl and I first made contact. I tweeted out about it. He replied to it, said, "Oh, thanks very much." I was like, "Oh, the writer said it. It's on my tweet." And that's how it all began, because of this film. Now, what I didn't ask him, Deej, and I meant to, is he's in Red Eye. He's got a cameo.
Yes,
in
he
Red Eye.
does. He's in the airport.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
That's the thing, and I keep meaning to ask him where he was and whereabouts in the timestamp it was. So I need to watch it again and see if I can spot him.
If I'm correct, if I remember right, I think he's in the airport. They do that a lot with people like that. They do it in comics where they'll put them in a busy, like a train station. Like what's her name was in Venom, I think, or what was the movie? She's a comic writer. And she was the same thing. And she's a character. She's just somebody coming off of a train, coming at you. And he was, I think that's what he was. Maybe he was an airline. Maybe he was on the plane. He might've been somebody in the back. I can't remember. I know I picked him out. I can't remember.
Yeah, I meant to ask him where he was. I knew he was in it, but I hadn't done it. But yeah, no, it's a great film. It's a Wes Craven film. And as he says in the Takeover Tuesday, on this one, I think he was on set the entire time. Whereas with Unhinged, which we'll talk about in a minute, he was only there for pre-production. Whereas with Red Eye and with Disturbia and Last House on the Left, he was there all day, every day. And so I think they must have just gone, "Carl, get yourself in there.
Yeah,
let's do a thing." And he's very complimentary. I can't remember if it was in the podcast or before or after. Just for those that are interested, very complimentary about Cillian Murphy. He said he was a really nice guy.
Yes.
So that's good to know.
Yeah. And I had watched this a long time ago. Like when we first said we were going to get him on, I had watched it just so I'd be able to talk to him about that one. I'd seen Red Dawn. I'd seen Disturbia. I'd seen an Unhinged, and then I went back and I watched Red Eye a while ago, so that when we did have him on, I could say I didn't even know if we were going to be able to talk about anything with him, but at least I had some background on something. And but yeah, I remember when I first saw it, I was like, oh wow, it is really good. But I didn't want to bring it to the show because I wanted to wait until to get him on. So I'm like, oh, what do we do here? But yeah.
How about you, John? Have you seen it?
I've seen it. Been quite some time, but I have seen it. I don't own it in 4K. I don't even think I own the Blu-ray.
Yet,
I probably
John
streamed it. Yet. You're right. Yet.
So, but yeah,
no, it's a proper thrill ride. You know, it's a thriller. It doesn't really let up from minute one to the very end. And again, there's some quite fun alternate behind the scenes stuff on the Takeover Tuesday with Carl talking about kind of how it all came about. But yes, with any Carl Ellsworth film, always look out for the storm. He loves storms.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to Unhinged in a little bit. So let's see, what do we got next? Oh, here we go.
Oh yeah.
Next up, John, warm up the windpipes.
Oh, so this is Troy. This was the director's cut, which until 3 days ago, I didn't even know existed. I didn't know there was a director's cut for this. I've never seen it.
Oh, wow.
Fun fact, I've owned this Blu-ray for about 10 years. So
yeah, isn't it like 3.5 hours long or something?
Yeah, it's like 3 hours long. So I've owned the director's cut for many years. I've never watched it. It popped up on Twitter. Somebody was mentioning like the essential director's cuts, and this was one of them, and it sent me looking for it. This was, like I said, this is Blu-ray, 1080p. I think it was Dolby Digital 5.1 audio. If you've seen most of us, I'm sure, have seen this movie. But the director's cut adds about 30 minutes to it. Even though I hadn't seen this in a long time, I was able to pick out almost every scene that was added to this. I don't think any of them were essential to the plot, however, as far as the director's cut goes. It just added some context, story to it. So as far as the presentation goes, I thought this looked phenomenal. Like it'd be hard to imagine a 4K looking a whole lot better than this looks. There was multiple scenes where I had to pause for different reasons, take the dog out, what have you. And the images that were up on the screen were so good that I'm not one that takes pictures and puts them out on Twitter, but I was like, man, I should take some pictures of these and put them out because they look great. The audio was serviceable. Like, it didn't do anything, phenomenal as far as I'm concerned. An object-based mix for this would probably be welcome addition, and would be the reason to buy. The problem with buying a 4K of this is they are traditionally not the director's cuts. And so I have a feeling if we get a 4K release of this, we're going to get the theatrical cut only and not the director's cut, which would be a shame. But I think an updated mix on this would be well worth picking it up. But video wise, like I said, I think this looked beautiful. There's some scenes on the beach or, with the water is just so blue. The beginning scene, well, towards the beginning where, they storm the beach and they take, over the Temple of Apollo, and they're kind of looking out over the ocean. It looks phenomenal. Like, it is so good that, like I said, I can't imagine it looking much better. But I don't know what else to say about it. The movie's the movie. If you've seen it, if you haven't, you should, because it's great. It's a really good movie. Like I said, I think the director's cut adds some story, but it didn't do anything to change the narrative too much as far as I'm concerned. Like some do, some are almost completely different movies. This one, I didn't feel that way. But
Did it make you want to get back to the gym to get back to your Brad Pitt body you had back in the day?
It did. Yeah, it did. Once upon a time, I looked a lot better than I do now.
Oh,
but yeah.
Hey, you still have that six pack, buddy.
Yeah, it's just covered by 3 more 6-packs.
I keep meaning to revisit this. I've seen it loads of times, but not for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was just looking on my movies app to see what the audio codec is on the UK disc, and it doesn't say it on there, unfortunately. I've got the disc. Okay. I will have to revisit it. But there's such good dialogue in this. I think my favorite one is the Brad Pitt saying, "You won't have eyes or a tongue tonight. You'll wander the underworld, and all the dead will know. Here is Hector, the fool who thought he'd killed Achilles."
Yeah, and that's pretty much dead on. And that's a great line.
Cool.
Yeah, great
goodness
line.
me.
Yeah,
great stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
so
There's some great stuff in this movie.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though. It's like you said. I mean, poor John didn't know there was a 3-hour director's cut, but it's like that's what makes it so daunting to go back to. We have so much great stuff, and you're
long.
like, ugh. And I get it. It's like to do a 4K restoration, they're probably just going to come out with the standard version because it's cheaper. You don't have to restore the whole thing or whatever. But like as you said, John, it's like it only adds a little bit of story to it. So you're still getting even if they did come out with it, I definitely get.
Yeah, I'll definitely pick up a 4K disc because I don't think it suffers by not being the director's cut. I mean, honestly, you had some extra scenes with Helen and Paris in the beginning, and actually the opening scene with the
where was Helen from? I forget. Where is she from?
Sparta. But there's the opening scene with the dog on the beach, which was new, but like it was all cool stuff, but none of it changed the story any. So I would definitely pick up a 4K disc, even if it was just the theatrical cut.
I'm a little bit surprised we haven't had it already, because this was kind of one of Warner's go-to new format discs. I mean, when you watch the old Blu-rays, the Blu-ray trailers actually has Troy in it. They show the DVD and then they show the Blu-ray, and it moves between the two. And they've done Blade, they've done 300, and they've done all these sorts of movies, which also were their go-to new format movies. So I'm surprised this hasn't already come out.
And you would think also with their 100-year celebration that they have going on this year, that this would have been high on their list, but I haven't seen anything.
Wow. Let me look. IMDb.
Yeah, there's not been a whisper of this. I wish it had been. Yeah.
No, but you know what? Let me look.
Hold music. Your call is important to us.
Yeah,
Please
exactly.
press 1, isn't it, Deej? Press 1.
Please press. Yeah, but then nobody speaks if you do it the way Joe did it, and that's not really good for an audio podcast that'll be coming out later. Because people are like, oh, they went off and they just shut us off. Let's see.
While you're looking for that, so we've got.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Jordan Sudden says in the chat, so the director's cut of Troy is easily the superior cut. Agreed. Same goes with other films like Kingdom of Heaven and The Martian. Yeah, I mean, Kingdom of Heaven is not viewable in the theatrical format. I mean, I don't know why anybody would watch the theatrical cut of Kingdom of Heaven. That is the only cut, is the director's cut.
Well, and again, that was the other one that was mentioned in this tweet, which I also don't think I've seen and I don't own. So
it's great.
I was looking at that. Picking
when you say you haven't seen it, John, do you mean not seen the film at all?
I've seen the movie, but I don't think I've seen the director's cut.
Kingdom of Heaven or The Martian?
No, I've seen The Martian.
Director's cut?
Whatever's on
that
the 4K
is in 4K.
disc.
Yeah, that is in 4K. That one.
Yeah.
The Kingdom of Heaven essentially has an ending, which the theatrical version doesn't have.
Yeah, I've seen it I think I went to the theater to see it, but so that's all I've seen.
Yeah,
that's a tough one to put on the box too. Now with an ending. Yeah. What?
Well, at least because the bad guy just disappears in the theatrical version.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't remember loving it, so that's why I've never owned it.
John.
So
I mean, open your Amazon app, John.
Yeah. I think
Click
to
buy.
Yeah.
It's only like $7 on
it's good.
on Amazon. I looked at it the other day, but
yeah, it's well worth picking up, John. Or I think it's on Disney Plus
with the director's cut.
I think
I'll look. You don't have to.
Yeah. Okay. I think it is. So, but
Okay.
it's the
I mean, it's
director's cut of that
$7.
is fantastic.
It's worth the.
Yeah,
You know, it's
get
worth
it,
the buy.
You'll be really pleased you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So looking up Troy from 2004, May 14th, 2004. So if we don't get it for the 100th, maybe we get it for the 30th next May. You know, kind of, that's where I'm thinking
20th.
like
20th.
20th, sorry, 20th
I
anniversary.
was like 30th. Wait a minute.
30. Well, the reason I had 30th in my head is because that's what Tombstone, I think, is doing. And we have no word on that, but it's 30th anniversary during Disney's 100th year. That could potentially and when is that anniversary? December 25th. So we're like, that's why we're looking at, like, when I talked about Tombstone and I happened to scroll by the details, I was like, oh my God, the stars are aligning for this Christmas. I'm like, why wouldn't they, maybe do that? But we haven't heard anything about it. Doesn't mean it's not happening. Maybe the same with Troy will happen. Who knows? With next May 14th is when it was released. So here in
I'm
the
gonna have to
States,
revisit this.
Malta and the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I'm going to have to give it a go this week. I think give it another watch. It is such a good film. I think it's great. Brad Pitt's fantastic in this.
Yeah.
Particularly love the shot as he's running up the beach and he's got his shield and he fires the shield onto his back and then the arrow hits the shield. And just as he sort of does it all in one, it's such a cool shot.
Yeah.
Wolfgang Peterson directed this, wasn't it? Is that Wolfgang Peterson? I'm pretty sure it is.
That I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah,
Wolfgang Peterson.
Yes, so good. Oh, you're right.
That's my stupid computer. Sorry, boys. All right, here we go. This probably would have been the show title if we didn't have already the show title, which I think is still deserving even during Halloween, during October. But here we go. Let's get to, both of us watch this one. Sleepy Hollow. I've been waiting all year for this. Googly moogly, guys. I know I usually let Steve go first, but come on, because it is stunning. Stunning. You could watch the Blu-ray, get in a plane. Nope, watch the Blu-ray. Sometimes I'll be like, if I watched it and went to your house, or if it's more than 50 seconds, you're really not going to see a difference. So watch the Blu-ray, get on the computer, book your flight, drive to the airport, go to Steve George's, watch it, and you'll be like, oh my God, it was worth the trip. It is that good, that much different. Steve mentioned it, I think, in the text, right? We were talking earlier, and I was actually, I was touched, Steve. You remembered. I did this 3 years ago in 2021. I had to look up when I talked about this one. Listeners asked me, I put it out to the listeners. I did a vote. I've forgotten about that. I'm literally just remembering it now, but you mentioned it, that I didn't like it. And
you nearly didn't put the podcast out. You nearly didn't do that episode, did you? Even though you watched it, you were so disappointed. You were that close to not even broadcasting.
But I told the listeners we did a contest, and they picked Sleepy Hollow, and I had to go through with it. This is the movie, everybody. This is the movie on why I say now, don't let people tell you how to do your show. Right? And no offense, I did it. I put the contest out. But what happens when it fails and you're not enthusiastic about it? How do you make a podcast? Go back and listen. It's on the website. It's on the Nerd Legion. And it's like, I'll put a link into the show notes. You can click on it and the MP3's right there. It was still good. I remember watching this now and saying, oh, I remember this scene, and I remember thinking about this scene, and I'm like, but oh my God, how much better this is. This is where it's a perfect movie too. This is why I said it could have been the show title, but this is a perfect movie to go along with that whole calibration talk, because this was artistically shot. And that's what was disappointing about the Blu-ray, is it really didn't come across as well. I mean, you look at the the interior shots where this is 1799 and everything's lit literally with a warm candle, and you have the warm glow of the candles and on them and everything. And then you go outside and you have the cool glow of the moonlight, right? But it's even better than that. There are scenes in this where you're looking in a window and you see the warm glow inside the window, but the reflection of the moonlight at the top of the window is the cool, and you're like, holy crap, how good is this? And it was awesome. Absolutely amazing. Just so cleanly restored. Look, their faces, that powdered face, that like they all have that powdered face. And then, spoilers, at the end, things have been resolved and there's more of a warm glow on their faces now. And it has nothing to do with the lighting effects and stuff, except that they end up at New York City in the snow, which absolutely looks amazing as well. So much improvement to this, so much sound. I thought the sound was a little lacking in the bass. I didn't think it was really it's not one that you're gonna be like, oh my God, you could still feel the hooves of the the horses, and you can feel all that. But there were a couple of moments where I was like, oh, that could have been a little deeper. But I was still, my wife watched this with me as well, and she was like, it's just gorgeous. It just, they're, Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, they just, everybody in it, Palpatine's in it, and I
Ian
think
McDermott,
I did mention, Ian McDermott, he's in it. Christopher Walken, awesome, great job on those teeth for 2000. No, this is
1999, wasn't it?
99, yes, sorry, 99. Great job on him. Great special effects. I made comments in the Blu-ray about green screen stuff. And I happened to look at my show notes, and I was like, I didn't go back and listen. And I was like, oh man, I didn't see any issues watching the Blu-ray, watching the 4K. So, Steve, I will allow you to retort. You hated it.
I agree. No. Well, the reason I remember your episode with Sleepy Hollow so vividly is because I had watched the Blu-ray a couple of weeks before and was absolutely appalled at how bad it looked. And I love this movie. I saw this film in Boston in 1999 when it came out, and in the cinema in Braintree, and
Nice.
the mall there, and I saw it there, and I loved it. And so when I got the Blu-ray, I'd had it a while before I sat down to watch it. I think it was Halloween, and I thought, do you know what? I can't wait. I'm going to see this again. I'd seen it lots of times, but not the Blu-ray. Put it on and just was like, this is awful. It looks bad. There's movement in the image. There's edge enhancement. There's grain that's all over the place. The audio was rubbish, and I remember being absolutely like downtrodden at how bad it looked. And so then, when a couple of weeks later you did the podcast, it was before we had chatted, and so a couple of weeks later when you then did the podcast, I'm like, oh, now this will be interesting. And then you were the same, and so everything that you were kind of conveying in that podcast and how disappointed you were was exactly how I had felt. And so I felt your pain. And so when they then announced this,
it's tough when it's called The Bright Side, though. That's what's so disappointing.
Well, yes, but you can hear it when you listen to it. You could hear the kind of, oh my God, this was dreadful, in your voice. And so I had some trepidation with this. But I thought, well, I'm buying it, whatever happens, because I love the movie. So put the film on, and from the opening frames, it's like, here we are. And immediately I'm thinking I was transported back to the cinema experience, which I loved, and then some, that cinema plus. Because, oh my goodness me, the opening on it with the, again, you've got thunder and lightning all around as you've got the carriage going through the cornfields, and you've got the pumpkin and the scarecrow and all this stuff. And straight away I was like, oh, this is great, and you can hear it all in the speakers. It's moving around the room. It upmixed beautifully. So immediately I thought, right, great. Then it cuts to London. I always think it's London. It's not. It's New York. Because they're all talking with English accents. So it then cuts to New York, and you can see all the details on all the roof tiles on the roofs. The black levels are beautiful. It's not grey like it was in the Blu-ray. You've got all this dark textured shadow and black levels, which look fantastic, and it looks almost three-dimensional. And it just goes on and on and on. And I put some pictures up on Twitter because I was blown away. The opening shot of Sleepy Hollow itself, as he gets off the carriage, and the carriage wipes across the screen, and he stood there, and you can now see, and I'd never seen this before, it says Sleepy Hollow. There is an actual sign that says Sleepy, which you can read, which you couldn't read before. And then you can see all the detail on the ground, all the detail on everything. Oh, it's amazing. And then when you get, because it's very black and white for most of it, because the color's been deliberately drained, and then you get the red and the blood, which is this deep red color, which has got something that's never been seen before. It was awesome. And then, and whenever the Headless Horseman is on screen, and the horses gallop around the room, and I think you're right, Deej. It's not so deep that the room's rattling.
No,
but it's strong bass, and you wouldn't want to upset that horse because it feels threatening as it comes. And it does go front to back a number of times, and you feel that this is a beast not to be messed with. It was so good. I love the 4K presentation of this. Audio, video, fantastic. You could not get, with current technology anyway, a better audio and video presentation of this particular movie. It is fantastic. And it's the right time of year to see it. And I've been waiting as well. It's only been out here about 3 weeks. But I've been waiting. I was like, I'm not touching this till October.
I sent you the picture, the screen grab. I've had it since January. I bought it right away. And I'm I'll wait.
Torture. And this was my deliberate choice of my first Halloween movie this year. I thought, it's got to be Sleepy Hollow. I can't. Yeah. It has to be. It's fantastic. And no one sensibly can have a problem with how it looks and sounds, I don't think.
I thought it was funny on Twitter, and it was it Justin said, he goes, this movie has never looked better. And I'm like, I almost wanted to, I didn't want to put it in a text form, like typed out form, because I'd probably get blocked again. But I'm like, that's kind of doing a disservice because the Blu-ray was so awful. Anything I think was going to be an improvement.
Yes.
And sometimes we say that because it's not as great as like Casablanca, but we say it's never going to look better. It's never looked better than this. This one here, it really, that's an understatement in a way, right? I have a couple of scenes at 20-minute mark and about 29-minute mark. They're two long shots of the town. Okay. And when you're seeing these scenes, you're going to want to look at the town, right? And you're going to look around. And like you said, I think that might've been the scenes where you're seeing the detail in the roofs and stuff, and the shingles and everything that's going on, and the movement on the streets. 'Cause it's a long shot. Look at the top of your screen. The long shot of the town is everything's grayed out, and it's almost like there are moments in this movie where it's a very, desaturated, very black and whitish, because of just, that's the vibe they're trying to give you, right? Look up at the top of your screen and look at the deep blue of the sky with the clouds and the moonlight hitting those clouds, and there's actually color there. Then look back down and you see that grayed out. It looks amazing. It's like when it happened the second time, my wife didn't see it the first time. I'm like, that sky looks amazing. And she goes, what? Oh, and the shot had gone away. It happened again. She goes, oh yeah, there it is. It looks so good. It just, so good.
This is a fan for this film, a reference disc for this film.
For this film,
it's great.
Absolutely.
John, is it one for you, John? Sort of, have you seen it? What do you think of?
I just bought it.
Oh, good man, good man.
I mean, I've seen it many times, but yeah, I just bought it.
You'll be blown away.
Yeah, yak about it.
You'll be blown away by this, John. It's such a good film. See,
Peer pressure's a bitch, isn't it, John?
I would put this film in the same category as the original Halloween for Halloween movies you can only see at Halloween. You can't watch it any other time of the year. I think this movie is one of those, and I absolutely love it. And with Burton, some of his movies I've not been too hot on, and I could kind of take or leave. But for me personally, and I know, up against Batman and Batman Returns and, movies like that, I think this is my favorite Tim Burton movie because it's got everything. It's got horror, it's
gore,
got humor, it's got gore. Absolutely. Yeah. It's just such a good thing.
I mean, and legit beheadings. I mean, they just, they don't cut away. It is. Yeah. And in the 4K, that blood, that red, like you mentioned, Steve, is just deep. It's almost too deep. It's not like blood doesn't look like that, but it looks so good on the screen. It's so thick.
Yeah, well, it's heightened, isn't it? It's just viscous and it's great. And I've got one of the swords from the film, which is quite cool as well. One of the Headless Horseman swords I've got in the cinema room.
Nice.
And the thing weighs an absolute ton. Now, of course, it was Ray Park was the Headless Horseman for all the fight sequences. When you watch the who obviously was Darth Maul, and when you watch the fight with Casper Van Dien, Johnny Depp, and the Headless Horseman, when you watch it knowing it's Ray Park, he moves like Darth Maul. So when you see him, he does blocks behind his back, and he does lots of very similar moves. And when you know it's him, and he also does a little flourish with his sword. Mm-hmm. And when he does that, that's what Darth Maul does.
Yeah. What's funny is this came out the same year.
Yeah.
Phantom Menace came out the same year. And it's like, and you also have, like I said, Palpatine's. So you have, there's a crossover there. That's interesting. I forgot about that. And I had heard that too. It's been out a while. So,
it's such a good movie.
Yeah. All right. John, are we missing any of yours?
I added one at the end, but we can skip it because I added it only because I wasn't sure if we had enough to fill the show.
You weren't? You know me, don't you?
I know. I should have.
Enough to fill the show.
I'm good. Yeah.
Good. Okay. All right. I wasn't sure if I missed one or I just want to make sure.
I added one right before we started, but you probably didn't even see it. But that's fine.
We don't need to do it. Okay. But yeah. So here we go. This is the show title. This one here is, I think this is what we talked about the most with Carl, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, listening back, we did.
Unhinged, we're going with here. Unhinged, 4K, HDR, Dolby Atmos. It's his only title that is Dolby Atmos enabled, which we mentioned. And it is, it's just a great movie. It's little talked about. It's a crossover between, like what did we say? It was
he said it was Jewel and Falling Down, didn't he?
Falling Down. Falling Down is what I had, but then when I had seen them, I figured by the trailer and everything about it, I had Falling Down. And that's right. I said, and like there's an opening scene to this that I was like, and I said it to him, I go, it's Duel. And he's like, yep. Then when I went back and watched Duel after the fact, after we talked, it was after.
I think you'd seen it just before. No, you'd seen it just before because you mentioned it in the podcast. Said I've just watched Duel, and he's like, oh right, because you talk about the truck and then the bull bars on the truck.
I'd seen Duel. I don't know because when I watched Duel, the truck doesn't have the bull bars. But in my head, because it looked so good and Unhinged, I was like, oh, that's got to be just like the truck, because I'd seen Duel before. So I can't remember, because I do remember watching Duel and going, there's no bull bars. It's just a mean-looking truck, right? But yeah, this one here, and I asked him on the show, but I'm like, I thought that opening scene, and that's why I was excited to have him on the show, and be able to ask a writer that question that I asked of like, do you think of this stuff when you're writing? And I loved his answer. It wasn't what I was expecting, but the opening scene, no spoilers or anything, but it's raining, it's thundering, it's awful day.
Like
Go
the first
figure.
shot of the movie.
Right. Yeah. Red eyes flying overhead. It's just, but the wipers on the windshield going just back and forth, the character sitting in his truck, waiting in the rain, and the wipers going doom, 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 back and forth. the bass in that scene, there's no wipers sound like that at all. Right, Steve? That's not what wipers
Not that I'm
are
aware
supposed
of.
to. No, and if they do, you get them checked. Like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with my truck? Because that's not a normal noise. But it sets the scene. It sets that repetitive tension,
Sort of
that
ominous,
irritating dum 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 dum. But it's part of the scene. It's not in the score. It's not there. It's the damn wipers, and the bass in that was it was just awesome. And I thought like the entire movie is kind of like that. There's a lot of great nuances throughout this movie. I had it 1930. I said dual reference, the rumble of that truck and I said the brush bar grill but again, we went over it, but it was just, you had that same feel, the way they shot the truck, the way they did all of this. And it's funny because like you said, like Carl said, he wasn't on set a lot. He wasn't there, but he did say I thought was interesting. Go back if you haven't listened to the podcast. I highly recommend it because, but I will tell you what he said and I thought it was interesting, especially having already seen the movie. I didn't even think of this perspective. Beforehand, and I didn't say this in the show, I was a little hesitant to say it's like Duel because I didn't want to tell a writer that you're like ripping off Duel. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to say that. I'd be like, this is just like Duel.
Well, he said
dude.
it's Die Hard, so he was saying he's,
but I know
influences.
Yeah, but as an artist, I know people get inspirations from different places and and I loved his explanation on what he was trying to do when he wrote this. And it was because this one's 100% him, right? He didn't collaborate.
Yes.
He wrote this.
Yeah,
and that's right. Because he was telling us how he had to get it made. Like he was trying to get it made and stuff.
Shop it round.
Shopping it round and everything.
Yeah,
But
he was on his. He was telling me he mentioned it briefly in the show, and he did mention it because we had about a 45-minute FaceTime chat before the show, and he's not ashamed to admit it because he says it in the show, so it's not telling tales out of school. He was struggling. He was right. If this literally almost on the day this sold, had it not sold, he was going to go back because he teaches as well. He teaches screenwriting. He was going to be doing that, and that was going to be the end of the screenwriting professional gig. This was everything, and it happened at just the right time. So he'd written it, but they were saying it was too violent, so it had been shopped around, and people said it was just too violent, we're not going to pick it up, and then it got bought, and the rest is history. It's a great film. And I mean, in terms of my experience with the home theater side of it, it's available in Germany on a 4K Dolby Atmos disc. Not to be confused, by the way, guys, with the Italian release. It's available in Italy in 4K, but it's not Atmos. It's 7.1 DTS HD. So if you're minded to get the 4K, get the German release. I got the Italian one first, had it shipped from Amazon, realized it wasn't the 4K one. Told them and said, look, I don't want this one. I want the German release. And they just said, oh, we'll refund it. Just keep the Italian one. So I've got that. Never opened it. It's just sat, up in the attic. And then I got the German release, and that is in 4K with Atmos. And it's a great disc. As good as the Kaleidoscape one is, it's like that. Sounds great, looks great, and well worth picking up. But yeah, so for those watching, the Carl also gave us some fun behind the scenes stuff, including his first meeting with Russell Crowe, which was not safe for work.
We allowed it in that episode, but we'll avoid it.
We won't say what it was.
But it's great quote. And you got to allow it. It's Russell Crowe. Come on.
Yeah, if you're gonna meet Russell Crowe for the first time, this is what you'd want him to say to you. I think, especially as a writer of this film.
As long as he's saying it to you and complimentary and not at you.
Yeah, well, he's an Aussie. I think he's allowed to say it either way. But yes, it was very funny. And also some interesting stuff about how the one particularly brutal scene was conceived, and Russell taking it even further than what he'd originally had planned. It's a great film, really well done movie. I could have talked to Carl about that film all day, because I've got so many different ideas as to where he got some of the things from. I mean, I can't wait to
We'll
have
have him back. We'll get him back. And
great.
I mean, that's what's funny too, is like, I mean, he had more questions for us and actually talking home theater. I mean, it was a true takeover. And I mean, which is great, you know, and he has his goals for his theater and stuff, and he loves home theater, and it's funny because he does say like he loves to have thunderstorms and stuff in his movies. So it's like you could see there is a little bit there. It's like he's talking about it, you know, thinking about it ahead of time. But yeah, I highly recommend checking out that. It was so fascinating to me to actually talk to somebody that is actually watch their work be put up there like that. And now with this one, especially being in Atmos, and being able to see it and hear it and stuff. So,
and what those are, go on, sorry, Deej, go on, mate, sorry.
No, I was just going to say 1 hour, 18 minutes, 50 seconds, helicopter overhead, ended up at the right side overhead rear. I mean, there's a lot. I just had that other timestamp there, but yeah, it's not out in 4K yet though. Not even here.
Not in the US, but as I said, get the German release. That's what Carl did as well. He's got the same version I did. Even the screenwriter had to import it from Germany. Yeah, so that's what he did, and he loves it and watches it a lot. What you didn't see, Deej, because he, as I said, when we were FaceTiming, he was sort of walking around his room, and we were looking at the stuff he's got. He's got a full-size BB-8 behind him, which you can just see on the thing, and he had a poster of Unhinged behind him. He's actually got a picture of his own movie on his office wall.
I thought I saw. Was that like behind him? That I thought that's what it was, but it was kind of blurred because
when we were talking.
Yeah,
but on the FaceTime it wasn't, and so I could see all this cool stuff behind him, and he was like, "Yeah, I've got the poster there," you know.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's funny.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. He's a really nice guy and very, very keen on home theater. I mean, he showed me the pictures of his cinema room, and it's really, really cool. And he's a geek. He's one of us.
Oh, big time. It's awesome. John, have you seen this one?
Have not.
You have not? Oh,
no.
Have you bought it yet, John? Whilst we've been talking?
No, I was looking at it though just now. But
do I hit the button?
They're pricey because I'm looking at U571 too, and that's like $40, which is a lot for a Blu-ray.
I mean,
it's not custom. It's not Lawrence of Arabia.
Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, which now has been released for $30.
But the U571, that one is not coming out in the US. I wouldn't think anytime soon because at least not this master, because it's a Studio Canal master, and they don't tend to release in the US as I understand it. So you're safe on that one. But Unhinged, I suppose, at any moment, someone could go, right, let's release it in 4K, because that's the kind of movie that could be snapped up and then released in 4K quite quickly. But it's such a good movie. I think the Blu-ray's in 7.1 DTS HD, so it's still good.
Yeah.
It's just not Atmos. But yeah, I mean, I'd recommend the 4K.
Paul Hurt, get Edgar Wright on next, which I think is which I think is great, because it's like
he's ready.
All these writers
we could just do this
to be on our show.
Right, exactly. He's like, oh sure, hang on, let me I got his number right here. Just like, oh my god, that's what
it's on the writer's hotline.
Yeah, it's but I love that part at the end where we were talking about bringing on some other people so they could collaborate. Like, I'm going to try to work and maybe get a hold of a sound design person through somebody, and then be able to have that conversation, right? And then he can, as the writer, can ask questions, and because he's just as much like they get a story, and now we've got to do this with it, and it's like, and he told us all the different variables that he's been through. So it's really quite fascinating, because there's way, way more to it than we all know. We go to the movie and go, yay! It's like, and
what those listening to the Takeover Tuesday won't get, these, which we did, is just how much he was writing down. He was taking so many notes. Everything.
Yeah.
It's great.
You and I talked about that after. That is, I've known a few writers that not as, like, I know people that do write, and they're that's what they do. It's just like everything to them. It's like they need those notes because they'll go back over them, and like you and I were talking about, that's where they get inspiration. That's where it's all of that stuff. Artists do the same thing, visual artists. I know I've known of people do that too. So it's fascinating to watch him because you're talking to him and then he's like,
Yeah, I'm going to write this down.
Yeah. And
Well,
I'm like,
we were talking
did I say
before the
something
show.
good?
Yeah. Well, we were talking before the show. He was asking about, we mentioned it again in the Takeover Tuesday. He was asking about some of the cases that I've dealt with for stuff that he's writing now, which I won't say, but so stuff that he's writing now, he was asking about some of the things that I deal with. And again, it's just like, Steve, hold it there. Gets his notepad. Right. Tell me that again. What was it called? What was the name of that case? What was that one? What was it? He's just writing it all down.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That's
such
awesome.
a cool guy. Really nice guy and such a geek. Oh, and his pride of joy is he's got, I told you, DJ, he quite happy for me to say, he's got a screen used Last Crusade Grail in his cinema room. And it's his pride of joy. He said, it cost me an absolute fortune. He said, but I saw it and I had to own it. He's an Indiana Jones geek and loves Dial of Density as much as we do as well, which is nice.
Yeah, we did talk about that too. Yeah. You know what we didn't do this week, guys? We did, and I leave this in the notes for this exact reason, but we will bring this back up next week.
Oh, sorry.
We're gonna need to talk about our systems again. But I think I think we did enough with the calibration thing that kind of took over for that. But yeah, we will be doing that. I have ideas on that. I'd actually like to make a video of each of us that can run while we talk. So we'll do that each week. So we'll get to that. And also as well, I just want to say thank you to everybody supporting this. If you're still watching right now, and Steve's yawning, so clearly we got to go.
No.
It's midnight over there.
That's not yawning.
But if you're still watching or listening to this show, please hit subscribe. Really appreciate it. We're trying to get up to that, especially on YouTube, trying to get to that 1,000 so that I can do that 24 hours and maybe get all of my energy out. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but 24 hours of home theater.
We're over 970 now. We've got so we've only got 30 left.
Are we?
Yeah.
Are we? We passed 970
tonight. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. Okay. Last I
away.
looked was 68 or something like that, and it's
970.
But yeah, so I know I got to get going because I'm getting on with the Patreon patrons at 8:00 for their we're doing a Zoom call with the people with the patrons. But yes, it's like I don't like asking for money, but I'm getting closer and closer to being like, damn it, I spend all my day doing this, and if I could get people to do this, and I'm like, man, because Michael, that's one of the questions he asked me. One of the first, and I said, no, I don't want to do this for a living. And the more energy I've gotten from you guys, from the listeners and everything, coming home from CEDIA and being like, if I could turn this in, and like I could never give up my other job, but if I could actually get enough and just be 24/7 talking like this is what I would do. I mean, I just absolutely love this. So, you're costing me money.
Me too, Paul. Me too.
Well, yeah. So yeah, let's. I don't like asking for money, but I'd like to pay Steve and John because we've got to get some money to them. They do a lot of hard work and spend all their money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll talk more about that later. But thank you to everybody for supporting us. All the people in the chat. It's just awesome getting the emails, the comments, and there's many ways to support us other than monetarily. But yeah, I got to do a better job at getting that because. That could help. It could help a lot and make the show grow even more because I got more time to do it. So, hey, you guys got anything else? I mean, we actually didn't do bad. We're only 15 minutes over our regular time. So
yeah, I mean, look, we could have done 2 hours on U571, 2 hours on Unhinged, 2 hours on Sleepy Hollow. Yeah, easy.
Yeah, Troy.
So,
definitely, we could. I mean, that's. I do think we could spend more time on every single movie we watch. Right. I like this. Honestly, I like this better. Like instead of us going, let's all watch Troy this week. Right. You know, I think this is so much better than moving along, moving faster, and then gives everybody a different flavor. Even though Steve seems to be the horror flavor 12 months of the year.
So much more to come.
But I'm in your month, Steve. I'm in your month.
The next 4 weeks are going to be all horror all the time.
Yeah,
if people want to know, if people want a kind of little trail as to what's coming up, The Exorcist, Casper. That's not a horror film, DJ.
I'm watching it next week. I'm watching. Jen and I are watching it. I got it on Kaleidoscape. I have not seen this movie since this Laserdisc. I bought this Laserdisc. No, I bought this Laserdisc. I believe it was one of the first THX, I think. I think it might have been one of the first DTS discs, and I had to have it. And we were watching Sleepy Hollow, and I'm like, Christina Ricci, she was in Casper, right? And we're like, yep. And while we're watching it, I grab my phone. I'm like, boop, we're watching Casper next week. She's like, okay.
Oh man.
So, hey, we gotta have fun. That's where you get your inspiration, right? Maybe this will go down like Sleepy Hollow did. The person will be like, sorry guys.
Yeah. Well, look, if I may trail what's coming up from then, I've got The Exorcist in 4K, the director's cut to watch. The director's cut of The Wicker Man to watch as well, both in 4K.
Okay.
And that's before I start delving into my horror collection. Right. Those are new ones that have just come out. And if I may say, I've never seen The Exorcist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, I'm doing The Exorcist as well. Jen and I are watching that one as well this week. So I'll join you on that.
Never seen it because of the because when it came out here in the cinemas finally, which was 98, when I was working in the cinema, by that point it had been lampooned and kind of made fun of so many times. Right. And people were coming out of the cinema having seen it laughing. And I thought, well, I'm not going to waste my time with that. But luckily that's kind of gone away a bit now. And so now I think there's enough distance between it, and it's just come out in 4K for me to hopefully watch it and just kind of watch it for what it is. So I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait. That's one of my films I should have seen long ago, ticked off.
There you go. So do you know what you're watching, John, or are you flying by the seat of your pants, buddy?
Yeah, I don't plan out my watching like that. I have no idea.
John's
no idea.
John's like, we're almost 20 minutes over, and I'm about to make it warm here again.
Yeah. Oh no. But I'm saying I don't plan out.
I know.
I just pick something and watch it.
Yep.
Good man.
No, it's great. All right. Thank you everybody for watching, listening, participating, rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Back tomorrow night, live again. I am live with, me and Giles McCoy. Who knows how long this one's going to go, because we have a lot to break down about the demise of Zapidi and where the future, how this is going to affect us going forward, which I think is going to be great. I think this is a great development for home theater nerds like ourselves. So till tomorrow night, I'll see you then. Patreon supporters, I'll see you in about 45 minutes. So thanks everybody. You know what you got to do.
Go push play.
What he said.
And I didn't even bring up this. Here we go. So see, I'm so slow.